we start the meeting, with what is in board policy, if you are here to speak on something that is on the agenda, you will be given the opportunity to do that because according to policy, it's on the agenda so you can speak to it. If ever you want to speak to something that is not on the agenda, you need to prearrange, which is by emailing the superintendent's secretary, and then you can speak to anything and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak to it. So there are some people that wanted to share some thoughts on the Widener Road connector. It's not that we don't want to hear from you, it's just according to policy, we have to follow board policy. So if you are here for the Widener, you're welcome to stay the whole meeting. If the rest of the stuff doesn't interest you, you're also welcome to leave at this time. If you would like to come back to the next board meeting, if it's on the agenda, you don't even have to prearrange. If it's not on the agenda, just prearrange and you will have time on the agenda. Okay?
Could you explain how they can get to that sign up on the website, please?
The sign up to prearrange?
If it's not an agenda item. If it's not an agenda item and we have to sign up to speak. I tried to do that and your website's very confusing and I couldn't figure out how to do that. So if you could just let us know, that'd be cool.
Yep, it is.
I appreciate it.
You want to
Brian,
take it?
if you've got my contact information, if you want to share it with the rest of them, you guys can email me directly and we'll get you on there. I think it's got to be 3 days before the meeting.
It's 2 days.
2 days.
2 days according to policy,
Yeah,
so by Monday.
If you guys put an email out to me, then we'll make sure that you guys get prearranged.
And it's Ashley McGuire, so it's amaguire@springboro.org. So if you call the general office at the, like at the school district, they can get you in touch with the right person. But it is Ashley McGuire.
Thank you.
And if it's on the agenda, you can speak on it.
Yes, yep. There's always a time for public participation, and it's noted that it's either prearranged or not prearranged, and that means it's on the agenda and you will be given time.
Okay. And your next meeting on the 19th, the Widener Road cut through is an agenda item, correct?
I don't know.
We don't know
the
yet?
agendas are set like
Okay. So
like
we should
by
look-
the Friday.
We should look at the website and see what's
Yep.
up and then go from
And if
there.
you want to for sure be able to speak, just call Ashley and get on the agenda. That way you can speak to it regardless.
Cool, thank you.
Okay?
All right.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to call to order the August 5th Board of Education meeting for Springboro Community City Schools. Roll call.
Tab.
Here.
Goods.
Here.
Stuckey.
Here.
Palage.
Here.
Playhoff. Here.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, 1.2, can I get a motion and a second for the adoption of the agenda?
So, second.
Roll call.
Tab.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Stuckey.
Yes.
Palage.
Yes.
Playhoff.
Yes. 1.3, can I get a motion and second for the approval of the July 8th meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Tab.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Stuckey.
Yes.
Palage.
Yes.
Playhoff. Yes.
Okay, we rearranged the agenda a little bit tonight because we knew that we would have some extra visitors and we didn't want you waiting through other things. So you will see a little bit of change if you're one that has attended board meetings before. So we are going to welcome our two associations and then we're going to get right into what probably brought a lot of you here. So 2.1, do we have any representatives from the Springboro Education Association? Do you have anything to report? Thanks for coming. 2.2, the Springboro Classified Employees Association. Nobody's here. Okay. So at this time, first off, we just, as a board, we want to thank you for coming and speaking. You guys, you have elected us to be the voice for you, and we appreciate the fact that you've taken time out of your evening to come. At the end of the day, we want to do what is best for kids. They want to do what's best for kids. They want to do what's best for kids, and so we need to know where there might be some gaps and where we need to address it. So thank you guys for coming. We felt like it would probably be helpful if we had Mr. Tudor, our superintendent, speak to some of the concerns that we have heard because we've received quite a few emails that we are looking at every single one of them in detail, but we feel like there's some things that we can address earlier in the meeting, so hopefully that will help some of the questions you might have. You will be given a chance to speak. This is not to not hear you. It is so to give you information, and then we will move into prearranged. We had 2 prearranged, and then we'll move into open discussion on an agenda item. So it could be on the one-to-one issue, or it could be on another agenda item. Does that, hopefully that makes sense. I explained a little bit earlier, because we had some Widener Road friends here, the difference between prearranged and not prearranged. So with this, when it is your time to speak, you will be given 3 minutes. So we'll have a timer going just so you have an idea when you need to wrap up. And we're here to listen to you. So it is not a time that we're going to be able to go back and forth and give answers, but we do have people taking notes, and it'll be acknowledged, and it will be looked at later to make sure that the changes that are being made have addressed the concerns that are there. Okay. I write things down and then I'm like, did I really say any of that? So hopefully I did. Okay, so next we are going to move to 3.1 and turn it over to Mr. Tudor to give us an update.
Madam Board President, members of the board, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to provide an update on one-to-one tonight. As you guys know, this kind of resonates with me a little bit, being officially on day 3 of the job here. We talked about this during my interview process. And I definitely think that there's a gap that we have from a leadership perspective with the community, and it's the way that we engage with our community to make sure that the will of...
Excuse me, could you speak up, I think?
Can you speak up? It's hard to hear you guys.
And there are also seats up here if you're able to come. We don't have microphones.
Sorry, Valerie. No. Oh.
No, we're gonna, there's a podium with the speaker.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right. Madam Board President, members of the board, thank you for giving me the opportunity tonight to provide an update on our one-to-one rollout. As I started to share, this is officially day 3 for me on the job as superintendent. And, one gap that I feel like I identified throughout the interview process that's a commitment from me to you and to the community is the way that we engage with our community. People don't show up at board meetings like this and email the superintendent or board of education when things are going well. So that's a gap that I'm committed to closing with the board and with the community moving forward. And it's not lost on me that comment is probably a little bit late for this topic. With that said, the administration is grateful for the board. You guys were supportive to fund this plan, as well as to provide policy to help guide our decision making. There's a standard of excellence that this community expects, and we're certainly working to achieve that standard. I definitely think there's also a gap from the administrative perspective of with this rollout, how we meet that standard in this wonderful district, one that I consider one of the best in the state of Ohio. With that said, this opportunity for students for one-to-one for us really is a chance for students to meet their full potential. And we know that this plan certainly has the potential to do that. But as I share often with our leadership team, it's not what we do, it's how we do it. And that's something that we're going to reflect on as a leadership team to ensure that the how of this rollout is done with the desire of the community, with the students in mind to make sure that they can meet their full potential, and with the guidance and funding that the board provides. So it's definitely something that we're going to work on, and definitely something that I feel like I could improve on. Tonight, though, we are going to share some information with the board and the community about our Chromebook fleet and some information around that. And just to kind of press balls a little bit, we have a couple of our partners from Forward Edge who manage the technology for the district with us today to assist with this. We're also going to talk about the analysis that they did with the devices over the summer to determine whether they were suitable for our students to be able to use to make sure that they can engage in all of the opportunities that we have for our students in Springboro schools. We'll talk through the process of distribution. I will tell you that I spent some time with the seniors over here when they got them, and the perception of the seniors is that they were going to show up, we were more or less going to hand them a Chromebook, and they were going to walk out the door. Certainly not the process at all. When I was building principal, we had this process one-to-one in the district where I was as well, and it is a chance for kids to come in and handle the device, they log in. It's not just a closed Chromebook that they walk out the door with, and then when they get home, they discover whatever they discover. It's much more than that, and I know our team puts a lot more into that as well. They'll also share some concerns that they found as we hand these out, right? Nothing is a perfect process, and there were some concerns during rollout, and they'll categorize them. Nothing to me that, in that realm, that I feel like is super important, but definitely one that we need to make sure that you guys understand what we did see. We're also going to talk about our learner process to clear up any misconceptions about what happens if you lose or break your device, as well as the fee structure that accompanies our used or not new device distribution. And then, of course, we want to discuss our ability for students to access our devices in our network if they attend full-time Warren County Career Center or College Credit Plus. And then once we finish with this, I do want to address the community and the board with the 3 or 4 things that, as I've listened to this community and those of you who have reached out, things that are certainly a priority for me and things that I am committed to monitoring to determine what the best next steps are for our students who are at the center of everything that I think of. And I do want you to understand that. So I thought I would start by turning it over to our partners at Forward Edge to start maybe with some information about our Chromebook fleet. So I think David.
My name is David Bruce. I'm the Assistant Director of On-Site Services. Sure. Sorry, I was told that I was to sit there initially, so I apologize. I am David Bruce, the Assistant Director of On-Site Services at Forward Edge. While I am not here at Springboro every single day, we have employees who are here 24/7. They're here throughout the normal school day. They're here throughout the summer, during breaks. So I work very closely with them. I have been here on the days 2 of the handouts. So I was here this previous Friday and this Monday as well. In regards to assessment of the fleet, our goal is to look at device telemetry data that is reported to the Google Admin Console. Specific things that we look at are, that we looked at in a report back in the spring was CPU utilization, CPU being the computer processing unit of the Chromebook, RAM, random access memory, utilization of the units, and then the battery health of the units. Those were the 3 primary hardware things that we looked at. When it comes to what is a standard for a Chromebook, in the state of Ohio, one of the things that we look at is what is the minimum required Chrome operating system version for the Ohio State testing app. Currently, for the school year, it is version 1.8. There's no hardware requirement to run that operating system. Google does not provide that. It is baked into the Chromebook. If your Chromebook can run the operating system, this team can run, has hardware components to run that. So we feel confident in that. All of the devices that have been deployed meet that minimum threshold to receive that update for the upcoming school year and to receive updates past that for multiple years. Specifically with the models that we saw, the Dell 3100s, which the bulk of those were deployed to the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. We saw pretty good metrics on the report. We saw average for that model of CPU utilization was around 50%. That means that there's another 50% to go up. We felt good about that. That's based on telemetry pulled from the roughly, it pulls different pieces of information across about 30 to 45 days just to give us a good average. So it was pulled while school was in session and people were using the device. For the RAM utilization, we saw about 35%, which is perfect. That gives about 75% to go up. Wait, my math's wrong there. 65% to go up, I apologize. And then for battery health, we saw the bulk of the fleet being between 75 to about 90 to 99% battery health. When we start to see an issue is when they hit roughly around 70%. What that means is when the battery health depletes to 70%, these cells in it can't hold as much charge as initially planned. And that just degrades over time. That is a natural thing with all lithium-ion batteries. We only had about 100 devices report back below 60% health. So we feel good about the metrics that were pulled at that point in time.
Where do you guys do with those devices?
When the battery percentage is low.
Those 100 devices, do they go out to students or do those stay back?
We would make the recommendation that the school district would assess what those devices are and pull those back. Ultimately, there is a balance of what is done by us as recommendations, not necessarily decisions or in like true direction on we expect you to do this as a recommendation based on what we see. In the event that a device would have a lower battery health, we would work with the school district or work with the manufacturer to determine if the device had a warranty or could be repaired. In that case, we would swap out the battery for a preferably OEM factory new battery, so that way it would meet the battery health requirements for the Chromebooks for that. So that assessment was done back in the spring. We made some recommendations. There were various recommendations that were made to the Director of Technology and to the school administration. And based on that information, that is part of what they use to determine their one-to-one rollout process.
Can you talk to us about the distribution process and the concerns that you guys saw with students as you came them out and quantify those for us?
Yeah, so I was here for the 2 distribution days. The process was pretty straightforward, all things considered, which we were very happy with. What happened is a student would be kind of held at the door. We would have them go sit down with either somebody like myself or one of the technology folks here at the district. A student would be handed a device that had a kiosk app opened. The students were asked to put in their school email address. They were asked to agree to an acceptable use policy. They would restart the device, so they saw the device fully shut down and fully restart. They were then asked to sign into the device and make sure that they were able to actually get in, their account was active, and then they were asked to write their name on their asset tag. They were handed a charger and a device, and the student had the device this entire time while we were going through that process. They were the ones to type things in. They were the ones to use the trackpad. So if there was an issue that was identified, we were more than happy to work with that. The bulk of the issues that we saw in the process was a student typing in their email. That might be a surprise to you, but between typos and confusion of is it first name dot last name or last name dot first name, we got a couple kids mixed up. That was the bulk of the issues that we saw, but those were rectified pretty easily. Most of the kids were in and out in 5 minutes. Even with an issue, we were able to get them in and out pretty quickly, which was helpful just to keep the flow of kids going. We had a handful of issues where we had a kid say, oh, a key is kind of sticky, feels like the trackpad isn't pressing right. What we did is if somebody identified an issue with the device, we took it from them, we unassigned it from them, identify if there's an issue. These are all devices that we've looked over. Something can be missed, right, as we go through over 6,000 devices in the summer. But we feel confident that the devices work well and were functional, and we had, a handful of kids, in my experience, that had like actual device hardware issues, and our goal was to swap them out. I would say roughly around 10 to 20-ish with like true hardware issues that we identified that day. The bulk of those issues were account-related of kids not typing things correctly.
Can you talk to us about the multi-factor authentication when students are off-site? How does that process work, and how can we ensure that students are not in our 4 walls and they want to use their personal device at home, that they're still able to access all the accounts that they need to for Springboro schools?
Yeah. Springboro has purchased a piece of software called Instinctive. Instinctive does a lot of different things. It was actually went through the check-in, check-out process for the Chromebooks, but it has a student MFA function. What that does and how it works is it is actually a Chrome extension tied to their user device. When the student goes to a personal computer and attempts to sign in with their student account, their first name, last name, at springboro.org, it would then require them to have the device for the first time they're signing into a web browser, a personal device, elsewhere. What it does is, as they go through the process, they put in their email, their password. It prompts them then to put in a 2-letter code that they can access from the Chrome extension on their student-assigned Chromebook. That Chromebook is assigned specifically to them throughout the entire school year. While we can swap them out, once it's checked out to them, it locks it down so that way that student can only access that Chromebook. I don't think you would be surprised here that we have plenty of discipline issues across all of the school districts that I have been a part of kids signing into somebody else's device or doing X, Y, or Z, so this helps eliminate a lot of those issues. But the very nice thing about this, and what we're trying to be very conscientious of as we talk with Springboro about the solution, is that it does not require that MFA token every single time they go to sign in. If they are signing into a Chrome web browser and they save their profile, it hashes their username, password, it will hash the MFA token. It is meant for that first instance on an unrecognized device or an unrecognized web browser. So as you're going through over time, you shouldn't see it like every single time they attempt to sign.
So in short, if I bring the school-issued device home, I can use that to get the code to get onto my personal device.
Correct.
And then moving forward, I wouldn't need my school-issued device. I would be able to work solely on my personal device.
Correct. If for some reason your student's account was compromised and the password was reset, that would be an instance where you may need to bring it back, but at that point, there may be communication with the parents or the son.
Are all the restrictions are put then on that home computer?
What restrictions are you
So
referring
That
to?
we don't let them get on many websites.
Let's say we won't let them access artificial intelligence site, ChatGPT, for example. I'm not exactly sure what age we do that, but
Sure.
would they then not be able to access ChatGPT at home?
On a personal device, some of the blocks that we push out are not there. If a student, and this is where it gets kind of interesting and a little finicky, is about how they sign in and where they sign in and if they sync their profile or not. If a student signs into a Chrome browser on a Windows device, Mac OS, some other device, and they sync their profile, a couple things will get pushed out naturally, because those are settings that we manage of the Google Chrome browser itself, which is safe search settings. That just kind of eliminates your search results to be a little bit more age appropriate. You know, if you are searching for pornography, gambling, dating websites, it's going to try to claw that away from you and push you in another direction. That's a native search feature inside of Google, and oftentimes I see it on by default, even for personal accounts nowadays. You may have Google images restricted to common use images is like the phrasing that they use for it. It's a technical term basically to say your Google images results are a little bit more curated for age appropriate things. And then anything that we block natively through the Google Admin Console, which I don't have an extensive list of, would be blocked as well. But the majority of the blocking done for student devices is through a web filtering piece of software called Securely. That is an extension-based web filtering solution. While that extension may load onto a personal device, Securely does not affect a personal device on a home network. If they use like a personal Chromebook at home, there's a chance that it might kind of interact a little bit. But really, what is important to understand with student web filtering, first and foremost, is that the school district does have a certain onus to block specific sites. School districts are expected to have devices that are CIPA, or the Child Internet Privacy Act compliant. The three basic minimums that the federal government wants us to have certain categories blocked for students to not be able to access. That's our easy way, or Springboro's easy way of covering that, to make sure that we're meeting that compliance level, and to do it 24/7. Ultimately, a Chromebook is an educational tool, not a personal play device. So we intend for it to be used for school work. So as they go about, that filtering is on 24/7 to help protect your children. While some sites might be blocked unintentionally, it's an uphill battle of blocking websites. Millions of websites are created every day. Millions of websites are pulled off the internet every single day. So it is a little bit of an uphill battle, but what's great about the solution is once we know, it's pretty straightforward for us to get those sites blocked and unblocked. We have a log of what sites students are visiting. We can, if they give us some information, we can pull that so that way we can figure out when was it, what time frame, where were you, what was the URL of the site. Once we have the right information, it's very easy to allow a site. Or, on the other side, have block a site.
Can I ask a question on this topic?
Yeah, I'm a
Non-technical person, and followed some of that. Maybe it would be helpful to, can you contrast the approach that we have taken versus maybe some of the other districts that you work with? Like, are we further on one side of the spectrum in terms of those restrictions, or in line with others? And that might just be helpful to sort of myself to ground, where we sort of fall on that.
No, I appreciate that question. I think it's good clarification. I can tell you from my experience, I have worked specifically, I've been dedicated to a site, one of the schools that we work with every single day for about the last 7 years, until about February of this year. I worked in 5 different school districts, or public or private schools throughout the city of Cincinnati and the greater Cincinnati metropolitan area. I've also done projects, been privy to information, worked with, not necessarily directly every single day, but through email communication or just problem solving, multiple school districts in the Cincinnati area, and then in the greater United States as well. So I feel like I have a good experience and can speak on this. While I have not looked specifically at what categories and websites are blocked at Springboro, I candidly, my account that I use to help out with Springboro things doesn't have access to the Securely platform because it's typically not necessary for my role. What I can tell you is that from what I have seen and what I've heard from the individuals that we have here every day, you are pretty much in line with what every school does. There is a tough battle with website filtering and blocking. It is very uphill, and what we are not trying to do is impede learning. Our goal is to make sure that learning happens seamlessly by eliminating some distractions in the classroom. I'm pretty sure any student in this room has probably heard of cool math games before, and has tried to visit that at one point or another, and it should be blocked at this site. But that being said, Springboro is pretty in line with what we see. The way that securely works is called category blocking, so it just says pornography, gambling, dating, social media, streaming. I don't know specifically what categories are blocked at Springboro, but the goal is to make sure that educational websites are open and available, the daily use platforms are open and available. And again, if something is identified, we have the granular ability to allow or deny something.
That was going to be my next question. Like, I assume that we've already got this in place, absent, this rollout. Like, if somebody encounters a situation on one of our devices where they're not able to access something that they should legitimately have access to, like, I'm assuming that this is probably more for us, if we have a process to.
Yep. We have our Borough Help Desk email that they can, email me, and we will attend to that question or concern. I'm already getting questions and concerns that I've been addressing, especially with my team, to make sure, setting, if not. So we've already been looking at that. We also have to keep in mind Senate Bill 29, because we have to make sure that, the sites that we have that are part of our curriculum have a data privacy agreement on. So we have to be careful with that as well. So we have to be careful with that as well. So we have to keep in mind our legislation and Senate Bill 29 on data privacy agreements. And so we have a process in place for that, to make sure that our curriculum falls in line with the Senate bill, because we want to make sure that our students' data is protected as well as our staff. So that's a big key piece when it comes to making sure what we have that's allowable is also protecting our students' data. So that is one additional piece that we look at.
So I work for a school district and we use Securely. We use Securely for quite a while. Now there are some apps that, and there's district administrators such as myself use, that require multi-factor authentication. But to my knowledge, students are not required to use multi-factor authentication. High school students can take their Chromebooks home. They've ebb and flowed how their one-to-one rollout looks like over the last year since COVID. And I know like high school students will be taking them home this year. Is there a reason why, or has it always been upfront that we are going to do an MFA in addition to Securely, or I guess where did that decision come from? Why
I think
did you make that decision?
really because of the new security practices that have been much more enforced in the coming past year. We definitely would love to do MFA across the board, but we are starting small with our population of this rollout for grades 6 through 12, because they have access to their email that we have open for those students. So we wanted to start with this process, and the Instinctive app allowed for that when they were trying to use a personal device, because we want to make sure when they're using a personal device with their student account, we want to make sure it's truly them and not a bad actor trying to get a hold of their account, because we've had some concerns in the past year, and with cybersecurity and all the measures that have come in play, we want to make sure that we're not vulnerable, and we're trying to put those steps and security measures in place so that we can protect ourselves as best as we can.
So you also addressed that, like the Career Center students, right, full-time, they're in and out the rollout, and I know Matt, you answered me in the email, and you said that the Career Center was going to handle that. So how is that any different than a personal device that I would have at home versus it's at a different network, like similar to Springboro?
Is your question?
So how is that not different other than Warren County Career Center has a network like any other school district in the state of Ohio? So how is that if they log into their device issued by the Career Center to their Springboro account, because they need access to email announcements?
So is your question, would they have to multi-factor on the Career Center?
That's what I'm saying, like how is that going to work? Because to my knowledge, why wouldn't they have the multi-factor if that's what you're saying?
I guess that's my question, is would the full-time Career Center students have to multi-factor to get into their Springboro stuff?
We have the ability to pick and choose students who, based on groupings, we have the ability to pick and choose students who can be either subject to or not subject to the MFA policy.
What's the settings with the Career Center now? Are they required to multi-factor?
Not at this, because this Instinctive app is exclusively what we have applied to our district Chromebooks. I'm not sure if they have an app like that for Warren County.
Can
I can talk. I've been talking with Trevor for quite a number of days, Director of Technology at Warren County.
Yes.
So I can ask them about his MFA practices and policies.
It is worth noting that currently the MFA is turned off for all students. That is
What? Today.
What
I thought I had to
time?
use it today, he's a senior.
What time? Because I turned it off earlier today.
It was sometime this evening before I came here.
Okay, then somebody may have made a change, that was not me, but this morning I went through and I turned it off. So if that changed after the fact, I apologize. It's good.
So help me understand, I hear what we're saying with having restrictions. If I'm a senior and I'm getting ready, I'm in Mrs. Llewellyn's class and I'm doing research, I'm doing college applications, how do we get past that we're not getting in the way of kids learning and kids doing their work at school because they need to work on college essays and applications and research, something that Mrs. Llewellyn might not know to say, would you unblock this? Because we need them to explore. So how do we truly prepare our students in a safe way, but that it's not just our carved out, you can use these 10 sites? I don't know who I'm asking this.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we've had.
Can you stand over there so they can hear you in back?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we've had conversations with our teaching staff, to make sure, especially last year when we really rolled out the Senate Bill 29, even though it came into play the year prior to in the spring. So we had those conversations with teachers. We want to make sure that what they're using as a part of their coursework, their studies for our students, that they're actually testing that material, making sure that it has a DPA. They looked at our website that has the list of approved apps and curriculums that we do have a data privacy agreement on. But they're testing that information prior to, so that if there is an issue, that then we can address it, and they reach out to us and we talk through that with them, so that they can have access to what they need.
And something gets missed on the front end, that's what I was asking, I think earlier, like there is a process by which if somebody runs into that.
I think Lisa's question's a little deeper though, like what if there's a site out there that maybe the teacher's not aware is blocked, what would be beneficial to kids? How do we make sure that we're not limiting kids' or opportunities to go learn, research, apply, all of those things?
Because there's time given in class that we don't want there to be a lag time, or in study hall, if they're working on college prep stuff, we don't want there to be a 2-day delay of how long it takes to release something. So I guess that's where I'm trying to get my head wrapped around, because in learning about other districts, it sounds like there's some that are less restrictive. So it's still safe, it still follows Senate Bill 29, but they can get into the basic stuff that you need as I'm really thinking of our older students.
I mean, so typically, we've had this experience last year. When things were brought to my attention, we addressed it as soon as possible. There's so much out there. I mean, David, mentioned that there's so much out there on the website that, is available to students. We want to make sure that what we're providing them or they're accessing is safe and secure, but we also want to make sure that we're not limiting them when it comes to doing what research, to make sure that we are setting our students up for success and not limiting their access. But we also have to keep in mind the safety, security, and protocols that we also have to follow as a district, so that we can make sure that we're doing what's right, also based on the legislative requirements.
That would be my request, is to really dig deep into how tight are we on our restrictions, and what can we do to still follow Senate Bill 29, all that stuff, but explain, and to truly look at other districts to say, at what level do you have it? Because bottom line is, these kids are gonna graduate, and they're gonna have access to all the stuff, and when they go home and they get on their own home computer, they have, and I know that we're trying to protect us from malware and all that kind of stuff. I get that. But I also I don't have a kid in high school anymore, but to think about, well, I can't get on this computer, so I have to get this, and then I have to try to send this over. I don't want to get in the way of kids learning and kids moving forward because of the system limitations.
I hear you, and I don't want that either.
So Tracy, I'm gonna beat a dead horse here a little bit. So
Okay,
when we compare last year, when it was bring your own device, and we didn't have one-on-one, if you came to the building, like you sat here and you got, and I was a student, imagine for a second, I'm a student and I log in, I can't get to like X, for instance, like Twitter, old Twitter, it doesn't work for me.
right.
I'm assuming this year that's the same, but it sounds like somehow between last year and this year, we got more restrictive. Is that the case? Because,
Yeah, that's what I was trying to clarify.
so no,
Change, like,
that's
NFL
what I'm,
said, like, that's
my
the-
point is like, regardless of whether it's a Springboro device or your own device, if you're a student, unless you're deliberately working around us by using your cell phone hotspot, which shame on you if you are, then you shouldn't have access to those sites. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, that's correct. And the settings that we have are the settings that we've had last year. The only key piece that we've added this year is the MFA piece.
Okay.
And that is
So we have
the
multi-factor
very
now,
new
which
piece
is a
that
little
we
safer,
rolled
but
out.
in terms of site access, and again,
Yeah. I mean,
Going
College
home
Board,
and
I already
doing
have
stuff is
parents
completely
emailing me,
different.
my child can get to College Board on a school-issued device. There hasn't been an issue. And, you know, if I'm made aware of it,
College Board.
we address it right away. I'm sorry, College Board and Blue Book, we've already looked, you know, I've already had a parent email me and say they got right on, no trouble. I will say there is a pause period right now because I think there is some questions about why I can't get to school links right now. Well, Clever, if they're going through Clever, we do have a normal pause period where students can't access Progress Book or can't access Clever. And that's because we're preparing for that rollover and that data sync to occur. And that will launch live on August 10th.
You know that kids cannot apply to college right now on these Chromebooks. They cannot get on the Common App and apply.
Yeah, we need to, so we are allowed right now to ask the questions. Let's continue with the presentation and then you'll have a chance to come up. And so hopefully this information can help you gear what you want to spend your 3 minutes on, just so that we don't have a lot of back and forth. So at this point, let's keep going with your questions, Matt.
I just kind of had some general questions that kind of along the line that Lisa did. Like, my assumption is like, once I log in through my Springboro account on this Chromebook, I can't log out of it through the browser, right? Like and add an account or log into my personal account, right?
I am not 100% certain how Springboro is configured in that way. What I can tell you is that a normal policy that we see at most public school districts in the Cincinnati area is that when a student signs into a school-issued device that is managed by a school district, that they are unable to sign into personal accounts or other accounts on that device. That can be opened up to allow specific domains like Warren County Career Center, Sinclair, Miami, X, Y, or Z. Those things may already be pre-configured. I'm just unaware of what those things are.
But I could on my personal device.
Correct. Yep. We do not manage personal devices. There's not like restrictions, like aggressive restrictions that we put in place on personal devices.
I have a few more statements to make to the board, but didn't know if there were any other questions that you guys had. And again, when I finish, I'm certainly willing to take additional questions as well.
Are you going to cover, like, I know we talked a little bit about the device and the fleet, sort of like, I had a follow-up question on something that was mentioned, and then also I know we've asked for like the information on the age of the fleet. Is that something you're going to
That's
cover?
something I was going to speak of. I know that's something that David's been working on, so I'll give him a chance to talk about the fleet. Or it really might be best for you to ask a specific question.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is probably in line with some of the other board members, just based on some conversations. Like, I was under the impression that we were on sort of a 4-year cycle, right, with our device life. That's kind of what has been in my head, and so it was obviously surprising to hear about some of the things that people were saying in terms of the devices being manufactured in 2019, what have you. And so I was just curious, like, do we have a sense of the age of our devices and when they were enrolled in our system? And maybe I'm mistaken in not remembering correctly in terms of what our replenishment cycle was, but I was thinking we were on that, so it shouldn't be possible that we would have a 2019 device right in the fleet if we were sort of replacing those every 4 years. I don't know his best position to answer that, but that was just one of the things that I was surprised at.
I can give a portion of an answer, is what I would say. So my understanding of what is issued to the high school folks, grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. At the 9th grade, there are new devices that will be distributed either Friday or Monday. I don't remember which day all the pass outs are. I've got a little confused with my schedule and Max putting that all together. But the 9th grade will have brand new devices this year that have not been issued to a student that they will be able to have for their 4 years at Springboro High School. That being said, for grades 10, 11, and 12, the district determined that the Dell 3100 model, having the rest of the grade levels be on the same model of Chromebook at the high school level, would be beneficial for the sake of efficiency, shared parts. We can easily swap devices in and out as kids maybe have issues or hardware breakage, whether it be unintentional or malicious. And then they gather those devices, prepare them for the school year, and that was the pool that was pulled together. How that decision was made would be a better question for Tracy, but that's just information on the fleet itself. There are devices of the Dell 3100 that are manufactured from 2019 as well as up to 2022. It looks like, based on what I have found so far, the two manufacturing years are 2019 and 2022. There's not something in between. So it is distinct, but they are the same model of device. Hardware is negligible in difference. It might have a different model number, but the performance that we're seeing is the same based on the report that we're seeing. That report that I referred to, the utilization metrics, that was for every model regardless of manufacturer. There is that Dell 3100 model.
So a 7-year-old computer then?
Correct, yes.
So when we look at, those devices, and he was right, we look taking that consideration, the bulk of the students that we have here, we wanted to make sure that we had the majority of the same model at the school district. As far as the device manufacturer versus what we looked at as being the life cycle of the device. The life cycle of the device takes us through 2029 for that model. And so what that means is that when the updates that we receive from Google, we can continue to allow for updates to occur for a device of that model up until 2029. So the devices that the high school students receive, although they are a 19 and a 22, they have, they will continue to get Google updates until that period of 2029, which will take them through the high school period.
I guess setting aside Google's support for these models, what is our own internal cycle in terms of, I know we purchase Chromebooks annually.
We spend about $250,000 a year on Chromebook replacements. It's just been that 2-to-1 model. So we're always constantly buying them, but then how long they stay in
So it hasn't been
circulation.
consistent.
I'm sorry.
So it hasn't been a consistent, we're buying these new ones, we're rolling other ones off, and the fleet is always within a certain manufacturer. It's not.
Well, also based on funds allowable, and we looked at the buildings, when I came in, it was, Dennis had just gotten new devices, and then, Clear Creek was also supposed to get them at that point in time, but we weren't able to do it at that time, so we pushed Clear Creek to the next year. So it's also based on funds and what we can do to allow for that. Our goal is to do that 4-year cycle, but we also have to look at what we can manage as well.
So our goal is the 4-year cycle. So I think that's what we need to look at here. We're already on a 7-year cycle, and walking in, somebody shared they have a 2018 computer they were given. So we're on an 8-year cycle. And one of my questions that I had is, if we have the CPU is at 50%, the RAM is at 35, so we have 65% left, and then the memory, what does that actually mean? Because if a kid is here for 7 or 8 hours, if they stay a little bit after or whatever, with those numbers, what are we going to do? Is that battery life to get them through the day? Somebody stopped me at spin class this morning and said her child was given a device and she charged it fully to see what is this with. And with doing nothing, having no tabs open or anything, it was 2 hours and 7 minutes and it was dead. This is a huge concern for me. So even if Google says we'll keep doing the updates, we're putting kids in different classrooms and not everybody's gonna have access to the chargers. So that's where my concern is with this. And I think we really need to get a grasp on what really we are okay with. And I mean, we're in the middle of cost containment, so we don't have a lot of extra money, but we do have some other options of possibly rolling this out slower if that's what we have to do. I'm not saying that's the answer right now, but I'm saying we've got to set these kids up for success so that they are able to come in and that we're not just the teachers. I can't imagine being a teacher with kids constantly having to move around, and so that's kind of the big picture. I hear these numbers that you gave, and I hear that technically it's okay, but I don't know that the 5 of us are okay with what product that would provide for our students.
Working on getting that inventory of the, like what has been deployed or will be deployed so that we can have a sense of what ages those devices are.
I feel like we should have already had that information.
Well, I think we were all operating.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Under the assumption that we were on this 4-year cycle, and I can speak for myself, I don't think that it appreciated that whether, whatever the reasons were, that we had not been cycling those devices out on that. I don't think that we were operating from a standpoint of knowledge that we had some of these devices still in the fleet, so it would be helpful to know, if we can do that inventory. Your other question on the battery life, I think it kind of leads into a bigger topic, which is whether it's battery life or anything else, right? In terms of if somebody encounters, there's no way to know how long the battery is going to last. Right? In that circumstance, when you're getting it assigned to you, you're going to discover that when you get home. So when people run into these issues after they have received the machine, what is our process, or what does that look like for somebody that discovers something after they've gotten it home and they start using it?
I've already addressed that. They've reached out to the Borough Help Desk, and I've reached out to those families. Once school starts, next week, students, when they have an issue, they can, our central hub will be the media center, which is right here. And we'll have loaner devices ready to go for students if they forgot their device for the day, or if they forgot to charge it. We will have a loaner stack ready to go for those students to use for the day, that they can pick up. If there's something wrong with the device and it's a break fix situation, we will replace that device. We have a stack of loaners ready to go for that situation as well. So the media center will be the main hub if there is an issue with the device, and that we can help address with the student.
At each building?
At each
so
building.
Dennis, 5 points.
SI is a little different at the office, but for junior high and for the high school, it will be the media center, and the same for 5 points in Dennis, but they're different because they're in-house and in carts.
So I want to jump in for a second because I wanted the board to have that information just about the rollout and to answer some of the questions and give you a chance to talk to our expert about this. But I also did want to address that I have been listening to families that have reached out to me and tried to summarize what my concerns are that need to not only be addressed but also monitored moving forward. And it's a part of that, Jamie, and I will get to that. But, the first one is the device fees for used devices. As I listen to our community, that's certainly one of the bigger concerns of mine. As I've started to research, and I do think that we need even more clear language on this, I felt like in the Panther device guide, it was a little bit different language than what was in the FAQ. And what was in the Panther device guide, as a father of 4, I felt like it was a little ambiguous, and I would, if I were a parent here who were given a device of a 2019 device, 2019 manufacture date, I would be unsure of really what that means, because it referred to the idea that we do have a protection plan for our new devices, but if you don't have a new device, then you don't get the protection plan. So where does that leave me as a parent and a resident and a taxpayer if I'm going to get a 2019 manufactured device. And just to be clear with you guys and with the community, if someone, and again, I was a building principal for a long time, and these things are usually obvious to us, but very difficult to prove and probably very difficult to put back on families. But if there is like intentional, obvious damage to these devices, then there's a chance we're probably going to issue a fee. The reality is, though, if we see these batteries that aren't lasting the way they're supposed to last on a 2019 device, if a port breaks or the other things that are in those part replacement guides, it is not my intention, nor am I comfortable with turning around to families and saying, hey, we didn't give you an option, but here's a 2019 device, and in 2 months the port broke, sorry, you guys need to pony up to fix it, when those have been in our possession for so long. So I definitely think that we are going to revise that language to clarify so that our community understands that this is not a nickel and dime process. I had is just CCP access. I know that didn't come up, and I've been working with Tracy and David on that. I don't want that to be guesswork when those classes open for our students. I want there to be seamless access. Again, I've got children, and I've got one that is in another district that does CCP. I know these Chromebooks can do it because I've seen it on her device. So it's our job to make sure we do what we need to do so that on day one, our students have the ability to access those CCP classes on our device. And if they don't, then it's our responsibility to pivot so that we do provide access to students for those valuable classes for College Credit Plus. The third I have, and it's been addressed, and I know parents have said it, it's the reliability of our used devices to meet the needs of our students. Like I said, student voice is important to me. That's not the first time you've heard that. And it's certainly something I'm committed to. What I would like to do is to set up an independent process for parents who don't think that these devices meet their needs, for us to sit down with them and examine them so that when we say it's got 80% battery life and 35 RAM or whatever it might be, that is how each student's device is operating. And if it's not, then we need to make sure that we are putting a device in a student's hand that does meet those specs so that students can seamlessly access the information that they need to be successful in our classrooms. I also just have some access, my kids are all over the age. I've got one as young as 7 and one as old as 16, and there's 4 of them. So I get the whole spectrum at home when I go home with what school looks like for different kids. And I want to make sure that there's transparency and appropriate access for parents so that they can partner with us and make sure that they've got the information to both help their students be successful in our classrooms and ask the questions that need to be asked to make sure that they are getting the most out of their school's opportunities that we certainly provide. So these are things that I'm going to be investigating. Like I said, we will put additional communication out around these and other questions. Our board meetings usually don't get this much excitement, so welcome to our guests. I am excited to do something that, as I shared with the board during the interview process as I was appointed to this position, and that's listen. We've been up here and we've been talking. A lot of it is reactive to what has been shared from the community through email. But I think it's easy to send an email, and I think it's difficult to carve time out of your day. I know our parents are very busy with what they do with their personal lives and with, as families. But it's important to me that you guys came here and that you're going to voice what your concerns are with the one-to-one rollout. And again, my commitment is to listen to you and to respond appropriately. Students should be at the center of everything we do, and as you speak, that's the lens that I'm going to be looking at for solutions to any concerns that you may have. So, kind of like I started, we are thankful for the work that you guys did commit the funds and did set policy. And from here, what we're going to do is to work to make sure that this process is as seamless as it possibly can for our students so that they don't miss a beat with the great opportunities that we provide in the school district. So I didn't know if the board had any other questions, but I'd be happy to answer any that I could.
Again, one more, it's probably not for you, Matt, but see, maybe it'll surprise me. When you compare the devices we bought for our freshmen to, let's just say, the seniors, which I think was the 2019 example, so 7-year gap, let's call it. What are battery capacity aside? What's the performance difference, like in a daily student or a student's daily life?
Like speed.
Speed. You tell me. I mean, what?
I do not have in front of me the specific specs of the device that the freshmen have. I'm familiar with the device. I've seen it. I've touched it, but they were all like new, getting prepared to go out to a school. So my intent was not to utilize some other school's device just to test out for my own fun. I wanted to make sure that every device that Fort Edge was a part of delivering to every school district was quality and prepared and not, marred or anything like that before it went out.
Sure.
I didn't even open it up. Like, I didn't unscrew the back or anything like that. I just let it sit. I just was able to see it outside because that's where my purview lied in that situation. So I don't have the specific specs. I can tell you, based on Chromebooks that I've experienced in the last 2 to 3 years, the performance has improved, but the most important thing with a Chrome device, specifically a Chromebook that runs Chrome OS, is that it's a pretty lightweight operating system. It can run on just about anything, which is kind of the value of it. It helps make sure that that cost of the device is lower for the consumer, but also for schools and other education institutions that use them. I would say that it is quote unquote faster. I don't have a specific metric to tie it to that.
Yes.
But some of that is newness, some of that is development and architecture of processors and RAM, but the RAM amount is not different. It is a updated processor, but I don't think like the speeds of it are inherently different. I'm sorry, I don't have the.
No, that's fine. I mean, where I'm going with this is, if I took a freshman with a brand new device, and I sat him next to a senior with a 2019 device, and I gave them a typical assignment that we would use a Chromebook for, assuming, knowledge and how to do the assignment being equal, would the freshman finish twice as fast because the senior is waiting for things to spin and load, or would we not see a difference?
I think that you would see a difference.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that it's twice as fast, but I don't necessarily want to associate like a percentage of like that increase with it because I don't have a basis.
Would there be a difference?
Yeah, I do think that there would be a difference.
Okay, thanks.
I just had a couple of questions. One is probably for you, actually.
Sure.
Can you tell me what the process was to, over the summer to prepare the laptops? Because I heard some concern of wet wipes coming out black type of a deal. So can you tell us, as a board, what did you do when somebody turned in the computer in May before you handed them back out?
Sure. Part of the process that was done over the summer is that all of the devices were either brought to a central place, either in a building or somewhere in the district. They were assessed first for damages to see if a screen was broken, keys were missing, so on and so forth. If immediate damage was noticed, it was pulled aside, so that way that could be remedied either with parts on site or through some sort of warranty repair, or just pulled out so that way it doesn't go into the primary fleet that we deploy to students. From there, the next step of the process is what's called a power wash. That is a specific term to Chromebooks. It is kind of like a factory reset, for lack of a better term. So it clears out everything that's saved locally to the device, gives it a full reset, and allows it to re-get all of the policies that are pushed to it from Springboro specifically. After that, a Clorox wipe was taken to the device was wiped down, specifically noting that the keyboard, trackpad, screen were primary, like we sat there and we touched it. I was not one of those individuals, but again, my coworkers were those folks. The outside was wiped as well. There was some residue from previous stickers that were on devices. I don't know if those were school-issued stickers, like something like an asset tag or of the like, or if a student put a sticker on a device that I saw as we were passing them out. But they were all wiped down with Clorox wipes, both inside and outside, and then they were given a new asset tag, so that way we could track the device from a physical label standpoint. And then they were set aside to be moved around and prepared for the rest of the school.
I appreciate you sharing that. It's just hard when I saw what some people did. Like, I get it that for the amount of people that Clorox wiped it themselves and came with that, it might just be worth checking with the staff that did it here to ensure that it wasn't just a factory wipe, but it was the Clorox followed. Because I think that was a surprise for people when it was at that level. I think this is probably a Matt question. Would you mind giving, the only other bucket that I felt like we hadn't addressed is special education for people who want to ensure that their children's IEP and 504s are ready to be followed, and if they have, I know we got an email right before we came in with somebody with an outside device for her special needs child that, can you just talk big picture, not specific, but big picture, what our process is with that?
Yeah, I don't think devices are unique to the IEP team. In my experience of sitting on IEP teams with students, if there are resources that students need to be able to access the curriculum to be successful, communicate, whatever the case may be, I think teams certainly look into that and look to allocate resources to make sure that kids can do what they need to do to learn at their maximum potentials in our schools. So if there are families out there who feel like they need any kind of accommodation or different type of resource, it's our suggestion to reach out to the IEP team and have that conversation through there. And I know Sarah's department will support that to make sure that those students are prepared, ready to learn with the right resources.
Okay, thank you. So I think as a board, we are committed to, we need to review the policy around this and really make sure that it's family and kid focused. So we can't, from when we realized there were some things that we needed to look at, we couldn't adjust the policy. There's a process to that. But as a board, we all are definitely in agreement, whether it's, well, how long do we want our fleet to be? What does it look like? There's just some things that we're going to go back and look at that we can't yet, but it will be on our agenda moving forward. I think that we're good with the presentation unless if anybody else has any questions from the board. Okay.
I just want them to know I do have a voice, people. I just. You guys have a question left that I can ask?
Sarah, did you have something?
Can we get a rewind of what devices are?
Like by grade level and by, yeah, that's something I did request, and I know that David is working on. So I believe you're working on that summary chart that I requested. I don't know if you want to speak to it or if it would be worthwhile for us to actually get that information in writing to be delivered to you so they can do that.
But shouldn't you already have that?
Are you asking about which grades got new devices versus
Which grades got new devices, which grades received like different devices, there's on like the high school students? What's the collection process, who's giving a Chromebook back, what does that look like?
you asked for those? And we've also asked for the inventory of the.
That's what I thought.
Boxes, but I think you're asking
I want to know
slightly
the specific
different.
grade levels,
Yeah,
right?
slightly
Because I feel
different.
like there have been some changes that we are not aware of.
Yeah.
So the 10th, 11th, and 12th are the 3100.
I got that.
The
I got that.
devices, yeah.
I got that.
The freshmen are getting the new devices we purchased, you approved in spring. Yep, and then grades 5 and 6 also are getting new devices, because 6 is this year, because we had to make sure we provided enough inventory, because we didn't have enough inventory in order to make one-to-one happen, which is why we needed to have that purchase of an additional grade level for this coming year. So we've applied the new devices to 5 and 6. 7th and 8th are getting district devices that we have within our inventory. And then grades 3, 4, and 5 are the same. They're getting, or excuse me, 3 and 4 are the same. They're getting district models that we've had within our stock in our inventory level. So 3, 4 inventory we currently have, 5 and 6 new devices, 7, 8 current inventory, 9 new, and then 10 through 12 current inventory.
And are those devices going all the way elementary or?
We did make an adjustment with our 5th grade. 5th grade, we are from the proposal. And again, that when we shared that presentation, in spring, that was a proposal. And that was, we were still fine tuning our proposal based upon, everything, all the things that we were working on. But we made a slight change with 5th grade being in carts. So they will stay in carts. But then at the end of the year, we will move their device, because it's assigned to them, and move their device to the 6th grade building.
Did you have anything else, Sarah? Okay, at this point, I know some other people came in after we had started the meeting. If you feel after hearing this that you would like to speak, please make sure you have signed, do you have the forms or are they still over there? So if you have not signed up yet and you want to, please make sure your name is there. When you come to the podium, we'll give it a couple minutes while the prearranged people are speaking, and then we will take the form and I'll call you by name. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you don't feel like you need to because questions were answered, then you can just say you'll skip. So at this time, first off, thank you to the people that were able to respond to some of the questions that we have. So 3.2 is public participation that is prearranged, and we have 2 speakers that prearranged, and so we will begin with Heather Bauer. So if you can come to the podium, not microphone, the podium, so that you're heard, and just state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Heather Bauer. I'm standing here before you because I care about this district. I've consistently attended board meetings for the past 14 years. I volunteered countless hours with this district. I've been on the board of every school's PTO, and I've spent a staggering number of hours assisting the marching band. I was even a long-term sub during COVID when none could be found. I've worked firsthand with these district Chromebooks and general technology. It's not great or streamlined, and there just isn't support for it. We don't have an IT department that can help immediately like you would have at a business. If something's not working, you find a tech-savvy colleague and hopefully they can help. Otherwise, you put in a ticket and hope it can get fixed. There was one teacher I know, she just gave up with her smartboard because no matter how many tickets they put in, it never got fixed, it never worked properly, she just gave up. She didn't use it for the rest of the year. So that's just one example, I'm sure there are many. You as a board have experienced issues with technology, with David Connolly and his computer when that was forced for his presentations. And so now that we have, what I'm guessing is at least double the number of students that will need district tech support. The Chromebooks that were given, some were dirty, sticky with residue, broken keys, trackpads, while their battery and operating lives may have been monitored. The physical Chromebook was not, to the extent that they should have been. They say that they were clean. Maybe some of them were. This has raised many questions district-wide, and not everyone is comfortable speaking out, so I will be their voice today. I will be sharing with you some unanswered questions from people in the district regarding the one-on-one rollout. Some of these may have just been answered. I wasn't planning on this being on the agenda, so let's continue with the way. And each question is from a different person, so the vernacular will vary. First one is, my biggest concern is having to have the device at home to access their Google Suite on their home computer. I never heard of it being done in any other school district that has Chromebooks, and I have a lot of teacher friends in a lot of different districts, including myself. How does this work for the elementary school kids that cannot bring the Chromebook home, for homework especially? And how are we going to develop it? And are we going to develop a district-wide policy for homework that cannot be completed because the Chromebook was forgotten or damaged? Leaving it up to individual teachers will be a mess. The next one is, why do they have to turn them in each year? So the original proposal said that they were going to keep them upon their deletion. Now, I guess with the fee structure, that's not going to happen, so not all students will take care of their devices the same. So I don't know if this Chromebook is going to be kept for that student throughout. They're going to assess it over the summer. I don't know the plans for that. How has technology support changed since implementing the Chromebook rollout? Is there now on-site tech support at each building, which should be? My concern is teachers being overwhelmed with laptop issues and also being required to manage submitting technology help requests and implementing the solutions from remote support. I think that'll be As a tutor, I allow the
That's your warning.
As a tutor, I allow the students to log into the computer from my computer so that we can both see the screen, a large monitor. Not being able to do this will greatly impede my ability to assist students in their success. Another one is, what is preventing these kids from joining a hotspot on their phone to access materials that the school can block? I am concerned with how the older, slower computers will affect productivity in class for the junior high and high school students. Chromebooks only last a few years. I can't understand why they are passing out such old Chromebooks to students who have spent a lot of money on their own device. Historically, when devices lost their charge midday, the kids would hop on a school laptop. What do they do now? The school issue laptop loses charge. Are there extras available? Who is responsible for damage if the computer is lost or stolen or dropped? If computers are lagging or not working, if assignments are late, how will that be accounted for?
Heather, would you mind, just so that I know there's a lot of people that want the opportunity to speak, would you mind sending the rest of the thing so that the board, or that the board and administration is able to hear the comments that you brought in?
I just do one more.
Sure.
How will all the state AP testing work now? Until now, all the teachers at the high school turned in their classroom computers so that they could all be set up properly for exams. Will there be any extra computers in the building in case a student has issues with theirs, or are the extra Chromebooks gone? And then I will send all these to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And the other person that had prearranged is Adriana Gray.
Members of the board, Madam President, I'm Adriana Gray. I want to start by saying what a pleasure it is to address you as president. After watching your dedication to this district for 14 years that we've been a part of it, from encouraging positivity and gratitude to mowing Clear Creek's lawn and everything in between, I want to address the recent policy mandating the exclusive use of school supplied Chromebooks as we transition to a one technology model. While I fully support the intent behind this, I have significant concerns about its hastiness and the lack of a bring your own device option. Implementing a policy that requires students to use Chromebooks that are 5 to 7 years old raises serious issues. These older devices are often slow, prone to crashes, and spread thin. Moreover, the recent distribution of these devices has led to numerous reports from parents about broken keys, USB ports, loose screens, and other mechanical issues. Students are starting the school year with faulty technology, forcing them to seek repairs before they can even begin their studies. This not only disrupts their learning, but also adds unnecessary stress and anxiety when most of them have a perfectly functional device at home. During the CCP meeting, families were informed that they may need a personal device, but not that they will not be able to use it at school. Students plan their schedules without being provided necessary information. We were also misled during the March meeting about repairs, as most of the students won't qualify for a free repair and are not covered by warranty. The document received states parents are responsible for this. What determines wear and tear on 6-year-old devices that were handed to students already broken? It's difficult to trust the process when it feels rushed and poorly planned, and when being asked to sign tech use agreements without having final answers. The timelines revealed by nearby districts who have successfully transitioned to one-to-one models show that it took years to do so. Many of those districts are likely better funded than we are, and they still needed time to accomplish this. There's a reason most of them recycle their devices every 4 years. Without a bring-your-own-device option, we risk creating an inequitable learning environment, forcing families of students participating in CCP to purchase or maintain 2 different sets of devices, creating further financial strain. It also feels strange to continue to limit upperclassmen resources to research and databases along with college prep when they're already attending a building that switch most books to digital resources. It just doesn't lead to college readiness. This is why I urge you to consider a phased approach to this transition. Allowing families to use their own devices will provide immediate relief and ensure that students have access to the technology they need to succeed. It would also give the district time to procure newer devices for those who require them. In conclusion, I ask you to reconsider the current implementation strategy. A more thoughtful approach, including a bring-your-own-device option, would better serve our students and families. Let's work together to create a technology model that enhances educational experiences rather than detract from them. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with the top of the list. I have marked off those that had come to speak to Widener. I do have one person on here that had also wanted to talk about homeschool policies, so whoever that person is, if you can prearrange and bring it to the next meeting. It's not on the agenda, so that's not something that we're going to be able to keep open. Everybody else on here to the one-to-one technology, you'll have a chance to speak. So we will start with Mason Allen. And we're trying to control the super loud noise, but when you hear that, if you can just be wrapping it up, I won't cut you right off, but there's a lot of people that want to speak, so we want to make sure everybody has that opportunity.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nathan Allen. I just want to start off by saying thank you all for being here. It means a lot to me as we have been working in the district for the past couple of months on this topic. I just want to start by giving my own personal experience with the Chromebook pickup. Yes, we didn't just get them handed into us with closed screens, with bringing it home and trying it out, but it was almost adjacent to that. We just typed in our emails, signed in, and if we did, we just went on with our day. We have no idea, what exact keys were. There are so many issues that can still arise from students, and I am very worried that at the beginning of the school year, we are just going to have a huge influx of students who have computers that will not work. I have been in the district since I was in kindergarten, and I am kind of ashamed of the district that I received one of the 2019 computers. I am in AP Research, which we do a lot of just research in general, but I typically keep a desk open on my computer for each of my classes, and when I simulated what it was going to look like in the school year with my 5 desks open, with 100%, it only had 2 hours on my computer. I also want to say that the new program will also very, very heavily restrict our access to different websites and such for research and for like things like physiology that like require some like more questionable outside resources, but they have always been blocked, and I would imagine are going to get blocked even more. I would also like to speak on replacement. We purchased these computers for $301. The replacement fee that has been posted is $360. Additionally, a computer has a 80% decrease in value after 3 years, and for computers like mine that are pretty old, you can buy them for like $20 or $50, but if I break mine, I have to pay $360. Chargers as well is a $45 replacement fee, yet you can buy almost the exact same one from Walmart for $13. In terms of the Career Center and students who are unable to get the school computers right now, they are completely unable to access their their school account because they need to verify it from the school computer, but they are unable to do that. So if you are applying to colleges like Purdue, where you have to self-report what grades you got and what classes you got, there is no way to tell because that comes from school links on your Springboro account. Also, in regard to Common App and FAFSA, which is financial aid, students that are more impoverished and don't have access to an outside computer-like system will be heavily obstructed because college admissions professionals all, for the most part, recommend that you use a home account, and on these computers, we are not able to access our home accounts, only our school accounts. So, with my final remark, I urge the board and the superintendent to slow the rollout and consider focusing on like 7th graders and freshmen who already got the new computers instead of the people who have the old ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mason. Next we have Alyssa, I never know how to pronounce your name, Ralia?
Oh, Ralia.
Ralia.
I haven't speak, but I will. I've never done this, so thank you, board, for allowing us all to be here and to express our concerns. I will just speak quickly about those students who are on IEPs and 504s. I know it was said that to reach out to the IEP team. I am concerned with that. As a parent who has a student, I'm sorry, on a 504, waiting until the first day of school is not the time to address these issues. We have kids who are struggling, whether it be in learning or anxiety, and to place this on them is unfair. And to have a child on a 504 or an IEP now has to go through 2 different computers in school and at home. It's not continuity. It's not helping to alleviate what a lot of our students on IEPs and 504s are struggling with. And one of them is having something the same. That is one way to alleviate the stress of school, is continuity. And having to have a student go back and forth on computers, and to have a computer that may not allow certain extensions or apps that help them to use that computer will be very difficult. And I did personally ask about that and was basically told, wait to see what happens when school starts. I do not want to wait. I have spent so much time working with my daughters, with the team, and I have to say, I will give the positive. My daughter came into this school district struggling. She is now advocating for herself. She is telling her teachers not telling, but respectfully reminding them what her accommodations are. I am so proud of how my daughter has done so well in this school district. She's a junior now, and it really concerns me. This is a big year for testing and everything. And she's like, Mom, I'm nervous. I'm like, all right, I'm here to support you. But it concerns me for those kids who don't speak up for themselves right away. And now all of a sudden their computer's not working. It is a struggle for them to have to speak to the teacher in the middle of class. They do not want the attention. So I do not want to wait for the first day of school as a parent for kids who are on IEPs and 504s. And there might be other students who maybe don't have that specific, but 2 computers is going to put undue stress on the students. Thank you.
Next, we have Cora Scanlon. She's coming from the back. We'll wait for you. And John Scanlon is next, just so you guys know. I'll try to give you the heads up. What's that?
I'm over here.
Oh, okay. Well, you're next. It's like a maze getting up here.
Hello, my name is Cora Scanlon. I'm currently going into my junior year, and I'm raising my concerns about the Chromebooks being distributed to us. First off, let me establish that I have no issues with Chromebooks being lended out to students who need them like in previous years. My main concern is about the privacy with our information within the school district. Yesterday, I went for a way to shut off the camera and microphone in our computer, since I personally am not comfortable with the computers being able to listen to me and see. What I found is that the access to the privacy part of my settings were shut off, so I am not able to get into those. In previous years, in different schools, there have been incidents of school computers that were distributed to students, recording, taking photos, and sharing information with officials who use them to numerous different things. And with issues of hacking, who knows where the information could end up. This leads me to my question. What do we have that ensures our data is safe and won't be used by officials or others for varying reasons? And if things were to get hacked, how quickly would it be patched up? How capable is our technology department to fix these issues that we don't even know could happen yet? Thank you.
Next we have.
I was just going to say, just real quick, we're not responding obviously, but we're taking this step down, so that was a new one. That was a good one. So we'll try to take this back, because I'm sure some of these answers aren't like immediately available to us, like security stuff. So that's a great question. But again, we'll take that back and let us work on that. We'll make sure that gets back. So
Okay,
just
thank you.
so everybody knows.
So,
Sorry.
John Scanlon, her dad, tough act to follow. I'll just ask a few quick questions. I think the biggest question is why now? Why the push for it to be an overnight change? Again, I think everybody's kind of making the point, I'll beat it like a dead horse of we could slow roll this, we could have a better answer to some of these things. The turnaround from a help desk, what guarantees do these kids have? Is it 24 hours? Is it 48 hours? I work with technology exclusively. We have a well-staffed help desk where I work. It still takes time to fix these things. Some of these kids don't have that kind of time frame, depending on requirements from teachers, etc. I know we hit on the age of the computers. Fun fact, Dell 3100s, 300 cycles on the batteries before they're considered obsolete. So that's something to look into. Discharge, recharge cycles, complete cycles on them. I'm sure you could probably get better definition of that. But that's something that should be looked at, and as some of these kids have already pointed out, the load on the battery matters versus when it was tested as well. But yes, I'm going to reiterate what my daughter just said. The privacy settings on the camera and mic. You're forcing us to bring devices into our home that have a camera and mic. I don't have any sort of control on that device. Heck, they don't even have what most standard laptops have, a little slider over the stuff or a way to physically disable the mic. These things don't have it. I don't know who has control of it. Is it the board? Is it this tech staff? I mean, the last thing I'll point out is you guys, looking at what you have on your desk, I don't see any Dell 3100 sitting there. I mean, if the board's not, oh, all right, we got one. I'm sorry. What, if you guys aren't using them? Yeah, I was wrong. I couldn't see it from where. But you know, if you guys aren't using them, we're expecting the students to use them, right? So that's it. Have a great day.
It was school issued, by the way.
Like when you were in high school.
Not hardly.
Okay, next we have, and I'm sorry if I don't say your name right, Mana Estudillo.
It's Maria, I'm sorry, it's how I write.
Oh, I see it now,
I want to
Maria.
apologize, my accent might get a little bit strong, so if you don't get it, just say you sound jittery and yeah.
No, you're fine.
I'm just gonna piggyback in a few of the things. I know some of my kids' friends, when they pick up their computers, they were hold under it. Pieces were coming off, and what they were told was, it's okay. So it's not okay to begin with. So one thing I told them was like, take pictures, email, document, because that is the only way that probably your parents would have to pay $300 and something, $50 or whatever it is, the fee to replace them. My daughter and all my kids tried to get into CCP, make sure, because they're doing CCP right now. She couldn't get in, she emailed, she got an answer right away. I do have to say, it was within a few hours. The response was, hopefully, you know, you should be able to get in by August 24 when CCP classes start. My other kid was able to get into CCP. I was like, okay, try to work on it and see what it is. Because my mom, I time it, it's taking me between 5 to 10 minutes to actually open tabs for the stuff that I need to do. And with that, it's like, you know, if we have issues like that, I think a few of the concerns is like help desk. You know, he mentioned it, a few people have mentioned it. I asked my kids, do you guys receive a paper with all the information and say, this is who you email, this is who you contact, this is, because obviously when we start a new job, hey, this is your information to who you contact, and if we have a help desk and a particular person to contact, what is going to be the turnaround time? Because, you know, teachers are going to say, well, yes, it's okay, I'll give you the 24, 48 hours, or how long it takes for IT to come and help you out with whatever issues you're having. Also, you know, I agree with the one-on-one, a lot of the districts does it. I see why you guys want to do it. Is the rush. I personally feel like this was rushed. That, you know, take it slow. I know we don't have the budget to buy new computers. My kids are upperclassmen. Obviously, I'm going to be biased to why did the upperclassmen got the older computers versus 5th, 6th graders getting new computers, when the activities that the kids do, AP classes, CCP, and all the other stuff that they need to access is getting hindered. And the last thing I want to point out, it was my understanding, and I heard this from the actual person that was actually pulling new computers when my kids volunteered, helping out years ago. When new computers got into the district, it was my understanding that there was a 5-year replacement program years ago in this high school. So why are we getting computers that are from 2018, 2019, when previous years we have a 5-year program for that? When that program stopped, I'm not 100% sure. I just know because we were like, oh, you're getting new computers, why, how long you keep them? And the people IT that was helping, you know, logging them in, plugging them in, said it's a 5-year program that the school had. So I'm just curious to see, you know, why, you know, it's past that time. Thank you for your time and appreciate you guys listening to us.
Next we have Chris Schroeder, and after that, Chris Jaquel. If you can, I'm going to try to read the next name just so you can be ready, just because it is kind of a maze to get here.
Chris Schroeder, good evening, board. Thanks for doing the Lord's work on something that really shouldn't be that difficult. A lot of my notes have already been talked about, but some things that I want to, I guess, bring up for the board to think about is we are getting charged $25 fee. From my understanding, when I Google how many students we have, it's around 6,000 to 6,200. So I'm assuming with these fees, we're going to get $150,000 in fees coming in. What's the money going to be used for moving forward with, in my opinion, obsolete technology? I have 3 students here in Springboro, 11th grader, 5th grader, and 4th grader. None of these tablets will be in my house. I will worry about my own kid's computer at home, so I know the performance is good. I also agree on the performance of these Google Chromebooks is probably a monetary thing that the board had to make a decision. So I don't know the full specs of them. I know I've heard from my kid, oldest one, that they really don't work. The one we received was damaged when received. We sent an email in. Cord was frayed. I'm pretty sure this Chromebook probably came from the elementary school because there was a foreign substance on the keyboard we had to scrape off. Probably common sense. And if we paid an outside company to clean these, PM them coming in, PM them going out, I would probably recommend we go look to see how much we paid and probably recoup some of that money. Or if that's for you all to figure out on what that's from. I'm assuming we have a contract with, I think, the Forest whatever. I would probably take a look at that to see what that says, because if we break the computer like somebody said over here, just Google the computer. It'll tell you how good or bad it is, what the life expectancy is, what the problems are with that. Does our network at the school handle all the computers now in the system? For my oldest son, they do not. We use our own Chromebook, our own computer. So just something to think about on there. And moving forward for the next batch of computers that we decide to order, buy through this company, a different company, I would recommend that the board get an option to use them themselves for a week and the staff use them for a week. And then obviously you can have your recommendation there. This is Springboro, Ohio. Everybody uses their own stuff, or up until this point use their own stuff. My kids will still use their own stuff. Just because I don't think the performance is good, and I want my kids to learn. That's all I have.
Okay, next we have Chris Jaquel and then Noah Kahn, I believe is, did I get it? No. Okay.
My name is Chris Jaquel. The first thing that worried me was that we based our standard on standardized testing to make sure that these could do standardized tests, but yet we're hamstringing our upperclassmen with something that can just do standardized tests. This is when they're looking, as I said, testing for colleges. They're looking at, college applications. They're looking at scholarships. And I can tell you from having one that's left the program and others upperclassmen right now, they have to switch back and forth between their personal account and their student account, and they can do that on their own Chromebooks because their current student email now, plus before, had a lot of filters, a lot of incoming emails from third parties, which a lot of jobs, other professionals that they need references from for college, and then other CCP college professors would try to send them stuff, and they could not get that on either their current account, or when they could, they had to go through the firewall, and it was delayed before they could get those attachments. They're not going to be able to get that with these computers. So they're going to be left going home trying to piecemeal between their personal computer and this, to try to get, those reference letters that they need for college. They're coming from private individuals. They can't get those. So that's concerning. Secondly, yes, these things don't work, and they did come home with problems, and they were told it's good enough. Why are we taking the computers that we purchased for our children out of their hands and giving them something good enough? I mean, Springboro, I think we're better than that, and these are upperclassmen that we're talking about that shouldn't have to suffer through it. They said themselves, freshmen are going to be able to outpace our upperclassmen. That's not fair to them as they're getting ready to move into the next stage of their life. The other thing I would advise anyone here, I painted a college senior spot yesterday and just sat there and listened to the conversation that these kids had. They are very concerned, and they did not play up for a parent sitting there painting. they're having very good discussions with very real concerns. They're gonna be out there again tonight. I would suggest just walk through with your ears open. You'll hear them raising very valid concerns. They care. There's a lot of them here. I think we need to listen to them and slow this down.
Noah, and after Noah, it is Marion Langley.
Hello, thank you for giving me the time to speak today. I would like to raise a few more technical concerns than other people. So, speaking on these are Dell 3100s. They run on a Intel, whatever the processor name is, it's not simple, N4000. A sub $200 laptop compared to our $300 ones receives a score on PassMark, which is a simulation of real-life tasks and given a score of how fast it can complete it. The school Chromebooks received a 1400. A sub $200 laptop received a 4500. That is a almost 2.5 times increase. My laptop, which is just a little over $400, received a 24,000. It can show that even you can go less and get more, especially with these kind of Chromebooks. And speaking from my personal experience, these are nearly unusable in terms of speed. It would take me, when I would have to go onto a laptop or a log Google form, it would take me multiple minutes to be able to sign in, open Classroom, and then get into the form. Other people would be nearly done with a 5-question Google form by the time I would even log into my account. Additionally, this is just a personal concern, but when I use these Chromebooks, I get major eye fatigue. When I do state testing, when I do all these things, my eyes hurt afterward. I don't get that on my personal Chromebook, my laptop, any of my other things. Another issue is the multi-factor authentication. He said it was disabled this morning. I was not able to fill out a Google form for cross-country asking what shirt size I needed when I was out and about because I needed a code on my Chromebook. He also said that you would only need to enter it once per device. I've had to enter it on my desktop at home 5 times in 3 days. It signs me out every single time I reboot the device, and it also happens on my phone, but less frequently. Additionally, I would like to mention that there are many people who, before, whenever this was announced, April, whatever that month was, bought a Chromebook, laptop, could have spent upwards of a few $100s on something that they now may have no purpose for. Maybe they would be able to reuse their devices at home, that maybe their mom's laptop, they could use that for schoolwork, and they would never have needed to spend a few $100s on a laptop that is now obsolete in the home. Additionally, when he said they were verified for, CPU performance, it says they use 50%. What that was doing, what it was doing when it was measured, that is not, we don't know that. Additionally, CPU usage is measured by how much each core is doing. So a 50% could be 25 or 50% on each core of the 2-core processor, or it could be 100% on one core. Certain things will only use one core, and if they are slowed to 100% on one, it will be stopped no matter if there's another core or not. Thank you for your time.
Next we have Marion, and after her is Amy, I can't read your last name, so Amy Brangers maybe? Okay.
Good afternoon, or good evening, I should say. My name is Marion Langley. I've lived in this district for 23 years. I have a daughter who graduated in 2021, and I have 2 at the high school now, a freshman and a sophomore. I am a big supporter of Springboro schools, a very big supporter, a big supporter of this board. But I'm really disappointed. I'm really disappointed in how this was rolled out to us in the communication process. When there is a delay, early release, I get a text message, I get a phone call, and I get an email. And the communication by way of this one-to-one technology over the last few months, I mean, it was poor. It was piss poor. And I'm really sorry to say that. I believe, Mr. Tudor, you said earlier, Springboro is the standard of excellence in the state of Ohio. What we are giving our children is not excellent. This is the Chromebook that my sophomore son picked up today, or Monday, excuse me. It's not been used. It's sitting on my kitchen counter, and it is at 1%. And I want you to look at how grainy this is. I believe Noah a moment ago was talking about resolution. Everybody up here today was talking about RAM, battery, memory. No one's talking about resolution. These kids are looking at these screens all day long, and I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. My kid got a 2022 Chromebook, and the resolution is pretty bad. I personally buy my children Chromebooks with larger screens because of the eye strain. We don't have that option here. Additionally, the other thing I'd like to ask or go back to by way of communication is the one thing I felt lacking, the communication, but why are we doing this? Yes, we've heard about Senate Bill 29, but are we afraid of hackers? Are we afraid of academic dishonesty? And we've had a rise in student cheating. I feel like those are things that need to be addressed as to why we're pushing this out so quickly. I also believe that if you look at neighboring districts, doing this in a phased approach would be a lot better. I feel like we are doing this very hastily and haphazardly, and we're fearing the impacts of what it's doing to people who can't get on the Common App and just apply to college or fill out their FAFSA, or children with IEPs. So I guess my concern is of many. The other thing that I believe a previous parent mentioned is, can we understand what the $25 technology fee goes towards? I personally, speaking for myself, am willing to spend a $50 technology fee if my kid can bring in their own computer, being that that money could go towards security software that could be placed on my child's computer to prevent hacking, prevent going to inappropriate websites, to prevent academic cheating. But to pay $25, real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything. The one last thing, I guess that's my time. The one last thing I will say that according to PC World, the average physical function and lifespan of a Dell 3100 is 4 to 6 years, and the typical battery life on a 3100, again, according to PC World, is 2 to 4 years. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Amy, and after that, Josie Coy.
Hi, I'm Amy. I am a graduated student from Springboro High School, so I don't have the first-hand experience as some other students, such as Mason or a few other students here, but I'm so fortunate to not have their experience that they're going through right now. Like, they have to use Chromebooks that are 7 years old, 6 years old, where the function is so bad. And like, I had to use Chromebooks through, like, when I have the locked Google Forms. It took me so long to get in, and it made me feel so stressed out and feel so rushed when I had to use a Chromebook. And so I was so fortunate to use my own HP computer, and just feeling more comfortable with my own technology, that is a huge thing for me. Also, another thing is why, for students that are doing AP classes such as AP Bio or honors classes like physiology, why couldn't we do more customized customized plans for students who are doing those courses, so that they could access the sites that can be used properly for certain projects, or like if students can go to like certain blogs that are still protected and secure, but still are useful for that project. Another thing is that I feel like some of the questions today were very beaten around the bush, and I just felt like there was so much information that was not answered properly, and I feel like as a community we deserve to know. And I feel like I know parents want best for their kids. I know my parents do, and we've lived here for 14 years. And it's just, I would rather have a HP computer and spend my own money to get my own computer that does a better job at performance and getting my stuff done, rather than getting a Chromebook that does a fourth of the job and makes me feel so stressed out because it's just a bad computer in my opinion. I'm sorry, but just getting a home computer is so much more convenient. And also if Chromebooks last for a couple of years, 3 years at a good performance, why are we giving students 7-year Chromebooks, and especially for seniors, why are we giving them those type of computers and just saying, oh, they're good enough? I don't see the correlation, but thank you. I really
After Josie, we have McKenna Wright.
Hi, my name is Josie Boyle, and I definitely want to echo some of the things that have been brought up today by some of our students, but I also want to speak specifically on my experience working with students. I work with high schoolers from 25 different districts in the area, or high schools in the area, and I work with them as they work on their college applications or getting ready for higher education. I can also tell you that from those districts that we work with, this is the most restrictive policy I've seen. I also, as Mason mentioned earlier, I think it's important to recognize the importance of a personal email as students are applying to college. Colleges recommend that. It is a representation of their growth into an adult who is making informed decisions about their path in higher education and in life, and is also not at risk of the spam filters that are often put on high school emails. Those personal emails are used to set up college applications, their application accounts at each individual school, so a new site per school, and it's also where they receive critical information about their application process. Those emails that come in about deadlines or just information about the school, they are tracked by colleges. And they monitor when those emails land in your personal inbox, and they compare that to when you open them. So if students receive an email in the middle of the school day and cannot access their personal email during a study hall or lunch, I'm not even suggesting that they do it during class time, but in a time that they should be able to access those materials, they can't. So some schools use that when they track demonstrated interest, which can be used for college admissions. And some schools use that when they track an engagement timeline, which is often used if a student submits a financial aid appeal. So if a student does not have the extended timeline of another, they may not receive the same consideration when it comes to the finances of their college. We also encourage our students to work on their application materials in Google Docs. That's because we want to ensure that the students' work is their own, it is well crafted, it is thoughtful, and it is not rushed. We want to give them that time. Some of our students start those application materials as early as the end of junior year. And so if they want to work on those application materials in their school accounts in a Google Doc, they then need to be able to take that information and access it through their personal email when it comes to their college applications. So that can be really tricky, especially with multiple devices. So, I am very sure that this rollout is going to negatively affect our seniors, their college applications, and potentially the money that they will earn towards their education.
McKenna Wright, and after McKenna is Sarah Anderson.
Hello, my name is McKenna Wright, and I am a senior at Springboro High School. My family has gone to this district since Clear Creek was Jonathan Wright Elementary. I'm a student council president, I'm a student athlete. Sorry, I volunteer with Bro Buddies. I'm saying this to imply that I'm a really busy person, and I need to be able to look at my emails on the go. I cannot look at my emails on my phone anymore, which is a huge issue, because let's say practice gets canceled, I have an assignment I need to look at, or Bro Buddies gets canceled. I can't see any of that without having access to my computer, and if so, I also need my Chromebook to get into my computer, which is a hassle in and of itself. It's utterly ridiculous that I have to have my Chromebook when I need to sign into my actual computer. Not only that, but as I said, I'm a senior in high school. My parents have invested a lot of money into the technology I use, and this is just wasteful. At this point, it's wasteful for my parents to spend money on something that I do not need when I already have college coming up. And senior year is honestly also a really expensive thing with all the things, all the traditions you have now. It's just wasteful. Another thing with the Chromebooks, I can't get my screen bright enough. I don't have really bad vision issues, but I like to be able to, have my screen bright so I can read what I'm looking at. Not only that, but I am an AP research student, so not being able to access things like stuff on YouTube, which Mrs. Llewellyn uses as a very good resource to show what we need. It's ridiculous, and I can't do any of that without having a Chromebook with me. Also, think about the help desk wait times. You have over 1,000 students. Okay, it's not like a small workplace as someone was discussing earlier. It's going to take weeks, and I feel like teachers, I've definitely heard, already have issues enough by getting their whiteboards checked on, that or stuff like that, or other technology stuff. What's it going to be when you add students into that equation? It's going to get even worse. And then the estimate about how long a computer lasts doesn't mean anything with how much you are using it. So, like, you have your phone, it's supposed to last 4 to 7 years. That's what I got when I looked it up. My phone does typically not last 4 to 7 years. And if you're using your computer all day for 7 or 8 months, it's not going to last as long as you think it will. It's just very wasteful and very unfair that I have to use a 9-year-old Chromebook, 8-year-old, however old, especially when I have perfectly fine technology of my own. I also need to use my personal email for my AP classroom and my CCP classes, and I would really like to have my computer so I can look at my own emails. And I don't need this computer. And I think so many other students are dealing with that as well. So, thank
you. After Sarah Anderson, it will be Dave Britton.
We started out this meeting, and basically we said this was a student-focused thing. We wanted the best for our students. But what I'm hearing is we chose our computers by RAM. We chose them by processor speed. We didn't think this could take the student into consideration. The ease of use, the features a student needs on a computer, the screen size, the brightness, things like that. We didn't consider those when we were forcing these computers on them. If I wouldn't, you say, well, it still works. Well, the 2000 Honda Civic still works, but I'm not necessarily going to put my kid in it because just because it works today doesn't mean it's not going to break down. And help might not get there fast enough. And when it comes to their homework, their school, and everything like that, they need help quickly. So an inefficient device makes my kid fall behind. If my kid can't complete their math homework or access their math the next day in class, they aren't going to follow. They are going to fall behind. Accessibility, they didn't take that into account. I had personally been told by teachers, oh, your kid, he can be helped by just getting your own computer and device with these features on it. We don't need to do a 504 for him, just get him his own computer. Guess what? These computers aren't going to have us. Both my kids will now need 504s. Are your counselors ready on the first day of school for the 504s that are needed for ADHD that require large screens? The ability to open up multiple windows without flipping through tabs back and forth. Working memory is a really big issue with ADHD kids. They can't flip from one tab to another easy. They have to have multiple screens. Kids with crossing the midline issues, can they use a mouse? They need touch screens. All of this. Well, guess what? Now my kids have to have 504s filed. That's a lot of work on the counselors. That's a lot of work on the teachers. Now they're 6 weeks into school, maybe, before they get a device that even they can use. Do we have the additional staff already set up? The help for the counselors to deal with the kids who will need new 504s and IEPs. The epileptic who's afraid of eye strain inducing seizures while she's using this device. Yes, that's one of your students. Do we have, and we'll have to have this addressed quickly. Sorry. Do we have the help for teachers? Because is there going to be an aide in there to help the kids? We have heard numerous issues, and school hasn't even started with accessing things, CCP credits, everything. We have had questions from the board, not understanding. The tech people say, yeah, that should be happening. The students are saying, no, that's actually not happening. If this were a business, all the issues would have been listed in a dashboard. We would have had a clear person that was assigned to it. We would have had a status that said whether this feature had been fixed or is still being worked on or hasn't even been started yet. We would have a person to go back to, but all I hear today is a lot of, well, how did we handle it? I don't know, I thought you were doing it. And I mean, like, how old's the computer? Why do we have this? What are we gonna do with the computers when they aren't usable? So there's a lot of questions, and they haven't been handled. No one really knows where they're going.
I can ask you to wrap up with your
okay,
thoughts.
yeah, sorry. So anyways, this is not what we were told was gonna be the situation last year. This is not what we were told at the end of the year. And a phased-in rollout would do much better, or even a trial rollout. Thank you.
Dave Britton is next, and after that, Kate Rottmeyer.
I came to learn, to seek to understand, to really understand, you know, it's a difficult problem. And I want to recognize that securing technology is hard. But I was really disappointed that what we heard about was the technological challenges, and not the user-centric impact that we're enforcing on our children. You know, when I heard things like Senate Bill 29, Senate Bill 29, with the 5 minutes I've had to research it, has more to do with technology providers and the restrictions on access to student data than students accessing technology and technology providers. So honestly, I am more confused as to how Senate Bill 29 has anything to do with the hardware rollout strategy. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'd ask the board, as you're considering the policy decision, to look into that a little bit more more closely. It doesn't make sense. And we just heard, you know, the questions about academic dishonesty and trying to control that. If you're allowing a student to access classroom material from their own device at home, what are you really doing to reduce the likelihood of academic dishonesty? Maybe you're limiting the likelihood of within the classroom. You're not really taking that tool away from the student because they'll have access to those set of tools outside of the classroom. So I'm more confused if that's one of the goals that we had, limiting personal access within the school district on school property. Doesn't make sense to me. And I think the challenge that I have as I listen to the administration talk and our technology providers speak is this really the only way we have to secure network access? Because I would assume that's the third, because we didn't really talk about this. We're trying to protect Springboro School District assets from intrusion, and I get that. And it's risking the efficacy and the resiliency and availability of the schools and the organization's asset. So that doesn't make sense. So, and then as I sat here and I listened to everybody talk about this, I don't understand, are we in a race to the top? Or are we in the race to the bottom of the school district? Because let me tell you what, 6-year-old Chromebooks is probably not what anybody outside of this room, or probably based on what we're hearing from the folks here, anybody would consider a race to the top, or even the middle. Finally, I think we can all agree that the best technology is the technology that gets out of the way of the user, or in this case, the most critical user that we have as a society, which is the student, the future. And here we are trying to have a conversation about screens that they're hideous. I looked at my child's, they're hideous. I couldn't look at that. We're quoting averages. There's lies, darlines, and statistics. And we had a fantastic student here talk to us about why statistics actually don't matter. It's the workloads that you put on those machines. have we sat through as students and understood the limitations we're putting on our students to make sure that we are not handicapped in their ability to be as successful as they can be. I don't think anybody here is asking us to go out and buy MacBook Neos for the entire district. Although, interestingly enough, we're seeing school districts do that because of the incredible performance that you get out of the platform. I think what we would like is the ability for us to be able to invest in our students' future without the district getting in the way.
And after Kate is Megan Schweers or Schweens? Schweens? Schweers. Thank you.
Good evening. I wasn't going to talk today, but I figured I needed to say some things I wasn't hearing from all the comments. First, my son picked his laptop up on Monday, and he brought it home, logged in, it was filthy, so we powered it down. Now he's not able to sign in again. I would like to know if I could get the laptop works with our printer at home. I'd like to have everything checked out, like how long is your battery going to last? Right now, we can't do that until maybe next week. And as a full-time working parent with kids in the district, I don't have time to come home from work every evening and try to do IT at my house. I know how frustrated I get with IT issues, and I don't want that on my kids, to have that happen to them while they're trying to be successful. One thing that I haven't heard in talking about is logistics. You talked about how we're going to have hubs where kids can come in and exchange their computers and let us know their issues. The school doesn't open until a certain time. They can't get into the school until a certain time. They might have a bus that they're riding. They might have a bus that they're riding at the end of the day. Are we now asking our kids to miss class so they can address their IT issues? Are we now asking parents to miss work to then pick up their kids because they had to stay late to address their IT issues? I mean, these are all things that we have to consider when we're asking our kids to use these computers. I heard earlier that they talked to the teachers. Did they talk to the students? Did they ask the students, what platforms do you use? What do you go to research on this? Especially in those more technical classes. I heard the students talking about, I don't have experience with those. I went to high school in the Ice Age. So my school had 2 computers in the library. And I kind of feel that we're going back to that. So those are some of the things I want to address. One of the other parents wanted me to ask, their kids do activities after school. If the batteries aren't lasting on these items, are they able to then bring their personal computers and log into the school's internet or resources to use it from their personal computers at the school? So these are all the things. I don't think the big picture was looked at for this rollout. And someone made a comment of, if we were a business, we are a business. We operate like a corporation, like an organization. And we have to act like it. Thank you.
And Megan is our final speaker.
Evening. Just a couple thoughts as I was listening to everybody speak, and I gotta say I'm really proud of the students for also advocating for yourselves. It's awesome. I'm a nurse. I used to work at Dayton Children's. We had better technology in our child life department for our patients to use when they came to visit the hospital than we're giving our kids right now. I have to say, it's embarrassing. It shouldn't happen. What blew my mind was that my daughter, I have a junior and a 7th grader. My daughter is getting a Chromebook that she would have been issued new in kindergarten. That's crazy to me. We've had Chromebooks at home. We have to replace them every 2 to 2.5 years with all the usage that normal student activity requires. They don't last long. And we actually had to upsize their screen due to eye fatigue and headaches. Now both my kids wear glasses due to looking at a computer all day long. So that's another concern. If the teacher's going to be hearing, I can't look at my my screen anymore because, I've got a headache. How are we addressing, some of those concerns with the students? The other thing is privacy. I'm really concerned about, not being able to turn off this Chromebook. What's it capturing, what's it recording, who knows? My kids have desks set up in the rooms. They're doing homework, and they forget to close the screen. What's this computer capturing? My son said, Mom, what happens if I just disagree on picking up the Chromebook? What happens to me? He said, I have a brand new laptop to use. We're going at the end of the past school year. Now what? So it's a very good question, which is why I'm asking you guys tonight. Thank you for your time.
So thank you all for your willingness to share. Please know we record this, so we will absolutely be reviewing this and looking to make sure that we're doing everything possible to set our kids up for success, whatever that looks like. So it is important that you guys know your voices are important. And nobody wants to be here on a Wednesday night, right? That's not a fun gig. So thank you for taking the time out right before school starts. And just know, we hear you. We hear you, and we've realized there were some things that we need to be better with and improve and move towards that level of excellence, and we're going to do that. We are committed to that. So at this point, we have a super exciting board meeting ahead of this, but we are going to take a 5-minute break, and you are more than welcome, if you want to experience a full board meeting, to stay, but you're also very welcome to leave. Most people leave after they speak. So thank you. Partnership agreement with Mrs. Poultry.
Okay. So this is something we actually, you approved in January, okay, but however, it was before the final revisions. And so the final revisions were sent, I believe it was the end of July. Really, the only revisions are two things: the title, okay, the one before said a satellite agreement, where this one says partnership agreement, and then where it says superintendent, Matt Tudor. Okay, so those are the only changes. The basic agreement itself is, still the same. And basically, the Warren County Career Center asked that we present it again and let you know of those changes.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have 3.5, Mr. Gilbert with the Educare's second floor lease agreement.
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board, this is a sublease agreement that we've been doing for a few years now with Premier Miami Valley Hospital on the Educare building, and yeah, they asked me to. Yeah,
I did.
Sorry. That's all right. I know you're important, but it's the second floor, and we've been doing this for several years, and the price has not gone up. It's stayed level for us, and it is utilized quite often. So it's a good advocate for our students and student athletes. Yeah.
Remind me, is the clinic on the second floor?
Clinic is on the third. Yeah. So, all right.
Any questions?
Okay.
Dave can probably answer these.
That's right.
I'm not allowed, probably.
You can't vote, you can answer the questions.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. 3.6, we've got student expulsion hearing and appeals officers. Mr. Tudor.
Yeah, Madam Board President, members of the board, I'm here to share information with you about some processes that, as I move into my new role, want to formally delegate someone to oversee part of this, and then just kind of clean up to make sure that there's no confusion in the event that there is appeals. But it's my intention to designate Mr. Josh Marjoram, our new Director of Human Resources, to be expulsion hearing officer. So he would take that role over that I held as assistant deputy superintendent. And then in addition, we have had this in the board approval in the past in terms of who the suspension appeals officers were in the past. Mr. Isaacs, the superintendent of the Warren County ESC, was named by name. We worked with the board's attorney on this because they are also going through a transition, as this will be his final year before he retires, and then they've already named Christy Even to be the replacement. So we are covered as long as we call this the superintendent of the Warren County ESC. Within their transition, this will allow us to be compliant, and if the case gets that we've got to have these types of hearings or appeals, we'll be able to move forward without messing up those types of things that we're required to have.
Typically, how frequently do we
utilize their services with
Yes,
this?
so we have never used him for this situation, and just kind of fun fact for me is my time, and I've held probably 1,100 expulsion hearings in my career, most of them in Hamilton, and I've only had one appeal ever, and that was actually in Hamilton. So when it does come to the situation where students are unfortunately suspended or recommended for expulsion, it was always my intention to partner with parents to say, we're in a bad spot now, someone did something that they ultimately don't want to be at this table. What can we do to resolve this so that we can put the student back on a successful path and not have them back at the table again? So usually that comes through that process, and it is a place to put supports in for students so that there's not recidivism.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, 3.7 is TV concessions agreement with Mr. Gilbert.
Madam President, member of the board, we come to you with concession TV agreement. Nothing more exciting to talk about, but we're pretty antiquated in our menu boards here in our districts and our concessions. Many districts have been going to this process, and when you go to a concession, you really want to be visible. And also, in speaking with our concession people, they believe that going to this system will maybe increase their sales, because now people can really see what's available to them and see the pricing, and it's easier, transformable from a programmable perspective to put pricing in and things of that nature. This comes to us from a gentleman that used to live in our district, Mr. Ed Young. He proposed it several years ago, but we didn't move on it, so now we're asking to move forward with it, and I think it'll bring a great opportunity for our concessions within our programming. So it does provide some revenue opportunity for the district. That revenue will be student-faced. We've talked a little bit about that. It will be utilized for that purpose in some form or fashion. And then basically there are districts, Carlisle, Centerville, Bellbrook, Miamisburg, that are also using the system. Then the advertising piece, Mr. Young is a marketing major, and he's done this for many years from the University of Dayton. But he does vet everybody. He also understands we have community partners such as Watkins, such as Premier, such as Domino's, and so he will not put any advertisements that compete with any of those, businesses, on the boards. So, which would be good.
Just kind of keep in mind as to which areas the boards will be on.
Yeah, sure. They'll be at Care Flight Field on the home concessions, on the visitor side concessions. They will also be internally here at the high school. And then we will also put one at Wakefield for the time being now, and probably stay there. And then we're putting one internally here, like I said, at the concession, and then we're looking at baseball as well. So
Goes beyond during the school day, or is it only when there's a game?
just when there's a game, yeah. So, and they're pretty good sized TVs. They're 65 inch, where they needed to be. And if you know Mr. Young, he's about 6'10". So he's a good person to look at. He went to the concessions. We had him stand back, and he goes, yeah, that's a good spot to put them, because I could see it standing about 3 or 4 people back. So that's what you want. Yeah.
I appreciate you. I remember he presented the whole thing to me, and I don't know what got in the way.
Yeah.
So I think there's some great positivity, and I appreciate it. We had a nice conversation last night,
Yep.
but you were on the golf course.
Yeah.
Sorry
Right.
about that.
Yeah.
That it'll be student facing with the revenue, and there's no cost to the TVs, right?
No cost for the
That's his-
TVs.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
So
No
it feels
cost.
like a win-win to me.
Yeah,
so.
no cost for TVs, no cost for the advertising, for us, yeah.
Right. Any
Okay.
other questions?
No, I just had the same question that Dan did.
Yeah.
It was, if we were gonna have one internally for like our basketball games. or
Yes.
volleyball.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Where are we? Thank you. 3.8, do we have any community reports? No? All right, 3.9, discussion of any other business. Okay, 4.1, Mrs. Stacy.
Yeah, this is an easy one.
Yes.
It is time to do the appointment of the delegate and alternate delegate for the annual business meeting at Capitol Conference. I know you are all jumping to offer.
I gotta leave.
I thought it was your year.
I think it is your year.
The business meeting will be on Monday, November 16th, I think at 2:30 p.m.
I don't mind doing it. I kinda like it. I know that's kind of sick of me, but I also know too that we were strategic in when we set up our, board meetings for throughout the rest of this year, that we had planned one for the delegate to share information as we just
Just want to make sure we want to go through the
Yep.
legislative
Right.
platform
before, so yes, I would say the same thing. As long as we do that, I think it's, and whoever goes there is equipped.
Yep. Okay, and who's going to be back up? Dave? Dave's back up. Thanks, Dave. Are you okay with that?
I don't mind being the backup.
You'll be.
I did it last year, I think, so.
I think we've rotated.
I think we've rotated, so.
Well, I don't enjoy them, so thank you for taking that. I'll just be honest. Okay, so it's going to be Sarah and then Jamie back up. Great, thanks, guys. Okay, next we have Mr. Tudor with 5.1.
Yeah, Madam Board President, members of the board, as I shared during work session, I'm seeking approval for Mr. Josh Marjoram to be the Springboro Schools expulsion hearing officer.
Great. Can I get a motion in a second for this approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call.
Bab?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Yes.
Palage?
Yes.
Playhouse?
Yes.
Thank you. And 5.2.
Yeah, Madam Board President, members of the board, I am again seeking approval for the superintendent of the Warren County Educational Service Center to serve as the designee for expulsion hearings for the Springboro Board of Education.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion in a second for the approval of the ESC suit?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Bab?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Yes.
Palage?
Yes.
Playhouse?
Yes.
Okay, and 6.1, we have approval of personnel report with Mr. Marjoram?
Marjoram, that's a tough one.
Marjoram, okay.
So good evening, Madam President, members of the board. First off, I just wanted to thank you guys and Mr. Tudor for bringing me aboard. It's been a very welcoming experience so far. I had the privilege the last few weeks of touring all the buildings with the building administrators, and you have some really great people in this district, so I'm really excited. Tonight, I just bring before you the personnel report and the athletic report, and respectfully ask for your approval.
Can I get a motion for the acceptance of the personnel report?
So moved. Second.
Any questions?
So, and I know that you're new on the scene, but I know that the interim superintendent is helping with some transitional pieces, I'm sure. With some of the educational aides, and if we're missing any, are we concerned about that? Do we have, if there's one on here for a resignation, like we're gonna have the people that we need?
Yes, we are fully staffed when it comes to our certified staff. In terms of our educational assistants, there's been some movement with students out of the district that have certainly helped us out. And then, Mrs. Gerstner has worked very hard this summer with families who are challenging the district on some of the services that we provide for their students. And because of those, we're in a situation where we don't have to currently provide services for that. So I believe that the schools are still hiring 2 EAs, I think you have to hire, Clear Creek and here.
Yes, I think it's a total of 3.
Three now?
Because we have a job coach. I will
Yeah.
also say, yes, it feels like, oh my gosh, what's happening? This is very typical. That position, classified positions in particular, are different than certified, obviously, just in the way that, they live day to day and change jobs. It's not the same as how the certified contract works. So it is not atypical this time of year to see some movement happen, and this doesn't feel like overwhelmingly different or abnormal or high. It's pretty typical. So.
Do you feel that we have enough, to meet the needs of the IEP and 504s to where when there's support?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, we are in good shape.
The one here too, we were discussing earlier today with the assistant principal here, and I think we have that one about wrapped up.
Oh,
Okay. Just because I think that was one of the concerns with the email that we received before the board meeting, making sure special education students, those communication devices, the reliance on the special education team.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Did we get a motion second?
Yes.
Okay.
The athletic report.
We got to do the vote, and then we can move on to the athletic report. So roll call.
Roll call.
Bab?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Yes.
Palage?
Yes.
Playhouse?
Yes. Okay, and 6.2 is the athletic report.
Yeah.
So I would like to put the athletic report forward for approval.
So
Thank
moved.
Jamie? Second. Dan? Any questions? Roll call.
Bab?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Stuckey?
I don't suppose anybody's filled you in why I'm going to abstain, right?
I may have heard.
Oh. Abstain.
Okay, Belanger?
Yes.
Schleifer?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the district.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Mrs. Holtry with 7.1, the Career Center partnership.
Madam President, members of the board, I'm seeking approval for the revised Warren County Career Center Partnership Agreement.
Can I get a motion and a second for this approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call.
Bab?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Yes.
Belanger?
Yes.
Schleifer? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mrs. Gerstner with Student Services.
Madam President, members of the board, there are two contracts up for approval tonight. One is just a recurring transportation contract for a current student. The other is a new contract, and I did want to just highlight Red Key. They're a new transportation company for us for our private transportation. These are for students who are placed outside the district and needs that our regular transportation bus drivers can't handle. And it's a creative option. They're kind of new in the world of school transportation, but definitely established with some districts down in the Cincinnati area, and they're moving this direction. What they do is a little unique. Most third-party companies charge per student, no matter how many students you're transporting. So if it's $300 a day to transport that student and you put a second student in that same car, now it's $600 a day, even though the same car is going. That is how companies typically function. Red Key takes a little bit different approach. In this case, they're transporting, I believe, 5 of our students total in 2 different routes. And because we are sharing those routes with other local districts, they partner us up and they reduce our costs across the board. So we share the cost with the local district, and the cost is divided across the total number of students. So it is a really unique approach to outside private transportation. So we're excited to trial this with them. They've been responsive and amazing so far. So that is a new one.
Can I ask, is David Oglesby a part of this?
He's not Red Key, right?
He's
No.
not. Okay. I just needed to abstain if so, because he's a relative. I just know
I
he
got
does
you.
something.
I just had an email from him very recently, and so I had to think about it. He is with a private transportation company, but it's not Red Key.
But it's not Red Key, okay.
Yes, yep.
I just wanted to make sure I was abstaining.
I wish you would have had to abstain.
I think he's complete care.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can
That's
I
where
get a
it was last
motion and a second to approve the transportation?
Second.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Bab?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Yes.
Belanger?
Yes.
Schleifer?
Yes. Great, thank you. Okay, next we have Mr. Gilbert with Educare.
Madam President and members of the board, we bring to you this evening the agreement with Educare for the second floor use.
Great. Can I get a motion in a second?
He's got the second.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, just want to roll through? Okay, yeah.
My bad.
And then we bring to you as well for the concession TV agreement.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you, sorry about
Sure,
that.
that's okay.
Can I get a motion in a second for the approval of 9.1 and 9.2?
Second.
Roll call.
Goods?
Yes.
Bab?
Yes.
Stuckey?
Abstain.
Belanger?
Yes.
Schleifer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
People here left, who were here earlier, but definitely thank you for all the students and parents for participating. Also, this evening, well, even if we didn't get up and speak, but you were here to listen and learn. And also, just families who have emailed us. I can't speak for the rest of them, but I know, reading all of the emails, I even went back and read the emails again from when we had presented with the one-to-one, when we went ahead and approved the purchase of the Chromebooks. So I even went back and reread all of those emails. And honestly, I am super embarrassed. And I know that sometimes the way that I may vote may not be the popular choice, but I know that I am choosing students every single time. And I am choosing families every single time. So it is very concerning to me that if this has been a multi-year process, that we still don't know what the inventory is. We've checked with other districts to see what their process is. And, you know, sending out a survey, you know, to parents, to the community, saying that we've involved the stakeholder. Well, a surface level survey, I don't necessarily consider that involving a stakeholder. That's a very important stakeholder. So to me, I feel like that's definitely insufficient information. And I would recommend, and I think the gentleman gave the board that, you know, they definitely need to review their process and how they got the devices ready. Because I know, you know, yes, probably maybe some of the comments on social media may or may not be true, but I bet a lot of them are, especially when a friend reaches out to me and said, hey, my kid's device is missing screws, and their screen is coming off. And they brought it home. This is also a kid who wouldn't feel comfortable probably advocating for themselves. Which is, again, I don't know, I wasn't with the kid when they brought home the, you know, when they picked up the device. In my house, I have a senior. My husband told my son, don't ask your mom or talk to her about Chromebooks. Don't do it. Because I've made it pretty loud and clear how I feel about it at home. And I feel like I've made it pretty loud and clear with the questions and the methods that I ask questions. It may not be here in a board meeting, but every single time it was met with, this is what we're doing. And again, that's beyond frustrating. It's honestly maddening. And like I said, I'm pretty, it takes a lot to get me worked up. And this has been my MO for probably a while. I don't sleep very much. Yeah, it's just super concerning. And I think a lot of great comments were brought up, and I think we also need to look internally, because I don't know, interim superintendent, that you were completely blind and not knowing of some issues based on an organizational chart. So that I look forward to discussions at some other time. But I really hope, you know, we start school in a week and a day. I really hope that the district is listening. I know, again, there are lots of frustrations, but I really do hope there is grace for the administrators. I hope there is grace for our teachers, our staff. Grace doesn't mean that you turn a blind eye, but definitely, you know, I really truly hope that we can have a great school here. I just think that more thought needs to be given to this process, and I think that thought should be a hybrid model. And also one last thing, definitely thank you for when I emailed on Saturday saying that I would like the device to discuss the one-to-one rollout. I appreciate it, and thank you for leadership. That's it.
Yeah, chuckling a little bit as my battery life dies on my 2 or 3 month old computer issued by fine folks at Relics and LexisNexis. So maybe I need to put a Chromebook request in. But I want to echo, I think Mrs. Babb said this earlier, and Mrs. Schlayoff, you know, to thank everybody for coming tonight. I was talking with Mrs. Stacy beforehand, you know, when we had all these people, I'm actually really happy that we have all this engagement and feedback, and I think it makes the district stronger, and certainly appreciate when we have the chance to hear from a wide variety of voices. But building on something Mrs. Babb has shared previously, and I wish I would have had the chance to say this when there were more individuals here. I actually wish there was more of it. And you know, I appreciate that Mr. Tudor is taking steps to make sure that there are different avenues to gather that engagement and feedback, but quite honestly, I mean, I'm glad Sarah mentioned something about votes. There are things that happen at these board meetings that, in my opinion, there hasn't been the level of scrutiny and input and accountability. And so my challenge to all of you and all of the folks that were here earlier, I would love to see you continue that engagement. This is obviously a very important issue, but there are lots of other important issues that have been discussed. There are lots of important votes that have taken place as a board and will be taking place as we go forward. And I certainly wish there had been more community input and engagement and feedback around some of the things that have happened with this board. So that's my challenge, is that I appreciate the fact that everybody has come out for this topic this evening, but I would challenge you to maintain that level of engagement, because we can do all the things, you know, in terms of setting up the process of our parents, but there are some things that just, unfortunately, it's coming to these terribly exciting meetings that it really takes, you know, to really get plugged into some of these topics. So, but again, I am really appreciative of everybody that came this evening and shared their specifics. I shared with Mr. Tudor that you know, I think this is an area where our execution has fallen short, and so I do trust that the administration is listening, and I look forward to the updates in terms of, you know, how we're going to improve on some of the executional issues that were raised tonight. And then switching gears, you know, normally this time of year, it's you know, we're talking about the craziness of back to school, and so I just want to you know, extend to all of the staff and all of our teachers and administrators and students that just, I hope that you know, as we enter into these next couple of weeks and we resume classes, I just hope, you know, it's the start of a great year, that everybody has had a great summer, and that it comes back safely, and just I know it's a crazy time of year, and so I just want to wish everyone the best as we start to ramp back up. That's it.
I also want to thank all the parents and young people that came in and talked tonight. Like Jamie said, and you know, I'm sure you guys will look into things and, you know, move forward with what we need to do. Also, good luck, and you know, hope the opening is good. It's been a fast summer. You know, and, especially for me, being involved in some of the stuff I am. So, you got the sprinklers going? They're on. Okay, good. Might need to crank them up a little bit. All right, that's it. That's all I got.
First of all, I appreciate everybody's feedback. I mean, I think coming into tonight, I mean, I knew some of the topics that I hear about, but there were also some that, admittedly, came out of left field that were really good, thoughtful comments from some of the people still here. So thanks for sticking around. Yeah, I mean, one, I think, you know, we probably could collectively agree this was not our best effort or our best showing of how, you know, we can operate as a district. And, you know, I share some of the embarrassment and disappointment, and I think we can do better, and we need to do better. That said, you know, there were so many, again, good comments, thoughtful comments. It's like I kind of want to reserve judgment, because there's so much to think about with what was presented versus, you know, making a rash decision. But the flip side is we've got school starting in T-minus 8 days, 7 days, something like that. So we do need to figure this stuff out now, like yesterday. So all that said, you know, I guess my message is we hear you loud and clear. I share many of your concerns. I do think there are certain things that will likely be tackled more quickly and easily, but there were also issues raised where it's like, I don't know what the answer is, and we are obligated to work collectively with, you know, the administration to figure it out. So that's my commitment is, you know, we will figure this out, and we'll make sure that, you know, we can't please 100% of the people 100% of the time, but we can do better than what we have right now. So that's my commitment. So again, thank you to everybody that spoke, that was patient, that was, well-mannered. There's been some times where it hasn't been like that, so I greatly appreciate the candor and the discussion. And again, we are on this, so thanks.
Thank you. So first off, for the adults that spoke, super awesome, thank you. But students that spent your evening here tonight, you are our future leaders. So thank you for caring enough to bring people together and to let us hear your voice. If I work in the social service world, and it's always like, have we heard the student's voice? Have we heard the student's voice in all the stuff that we do? And so I appreciate, I know Mason, you're a big part of bringing this group together. Thank you for doing that because, we were challenged that from a couple of parents of, are we hearing the student's voice? So while adults, we're important at everything, but it's really how it's impacting our kids and hearing from them directly. So I'm just super proud of you guys as our future leaders. So thank you for that. And Jamie reminded me of this when we were walking out. Many years ago, like in 2008, the way that I got involved with being a board member is I got ticked off at a board meeting. There was 200 people in the LGI down here, and we did what Springboro does, right? We come out and we use our voice. But what I was challenged from Craig Colston, who was on the board at that time, and he said, you all are out here now because it impacts your babies. Where are you going to be next week? And that is my continued challenge as you talk to other people about this. Like Jamie said, we need to be here for everything. We need your voices. There's going to be things that even though all of us are current parents, past parents, grandparents of kids in the district, we're still not going to see everything through the lens that you see. So please stay involved, encourage other people to come to board meetings, to reach out to us. We don't just brush you off. We don't respond to everything because if it's an operational thing, we're going to turn to our administration to respond to that, but we see it all. We read it all. So hopefully you saw tonight, we rearranged our agenda so that we could have your voices heard. So I just appreciate and I challenge you. Maybe your place in the future is to get more involved at a different level and to be a voice of the community as we work along, the community works alongside the board. And I will say I've appreciated working with the board on this. I do feel like we're very united and committed to work alongside our administration to make sure that we are doing what's best for our kids. The teachers, I've thought many times, because I used to be a teacher, of what it's going to be like for teachers if we don't get this right. And so for students, for families, for teachers, you guys deserve it, and we're committed to doing whatever we need to do to support that. With that being said, I will put a little caveat in. We are in cost containment mode, and I am going to challenge administration that we just don't have dollars to just put a lot more laptops and more in our fleet. So I would, again, graciously ask that we consider a phase-in if we cannot get the older computers to function as quickly as needed. So the last thing is it's great seeing people on campus driving in from the south and have the soccer players out there, cars all over the place. It's good to, we all love the summer, but it's also great to see everybody back on campus and ready for a new school year. So good luck to the teaching and both classified and certified staff. So that's what I have. Do you guys have anything?
One quick thing.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate the voice of the students and the voice of the parents. Engagement is something that I certainly want to improve in my time in this seat. On Friday, August 21st, we're excited to have a community-sponsored event. It's the Back to School Bash. I'm going to do a quasi-meet the superintendent night there, where I would encourage our families to come out, talk to me. I'm really interested more in listening to our community, their desires, in the direction of the school. As I shared through the interview process some of the avenues for that. And I kind of get back to that idea of the planning commission, right? Like this was a part of that, and I don't know that you fully understand where I'm talking about. When I spoke about it at that time, and I have to bring you along about the value of truly engaging with the leaders of this school district that we saw come out tonight and voice their opinion, and how a process like that could vet some of these ideas a little more thoroughly before we do bring them to you, and that there's more angles to that process. So please join me on Friday, August 21st, to start that process. Hopefully it's the first step in many as we look to increase the voice of our community, to make sure that we do get it right and that their voice is heard, and that we can move forward to make sure that each decision we make is focused on truly what is best for our students.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us about that. And it's before our first football game against Mason, so hopefully we start the year strong. So, great.
Don't look at me.
I was looking down at all the vectors. Okay, 11.1, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
Come on, guys.
Two people said so moved, so.
Yes.
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 Solaje?
Yes.
Playhouse?
Yes. Meeting adjourned.